This useless young man was being relentlessly hunted by members of a rival guild, but after taking a hit for a mysterious old man, he discovered the man's incredibly overpowered identity. With just a single flick of his hand, the old man created terrifying tornadoes that shot straight towards the people ahead, and before the young man's stunned eyes, the forest in front of him was completely obliterated. Along with a flurry of nines filling the sky, 999,999,999,999. Is this the maximum damage you can inflict in the game? The young man thought to himself as he looked at the godlike level 999 old man before him. But this whole story started not too long ago. A game appeared in the world called Brave New World. This game, abbreviated as BNW, is a massively multiplayer online role-playing game set in a virtual reality open world. It's the largest of its kind in history where player freedom is completely guaranteed. And that's not all. This incredible game also features a vast and diverse world map spanning over 30 million square kilometers, with every kind of environment from volcanoes to ice mountains. The content is nearly infinite with 2 billion NPCs. Even the sensory systems and graphics are flawlessly recreated. BNW isn't just a game. It's another world. But our protagonist Han Tae-sung wasn't particularly interested in any of that. The biggest reason he started playing this game was for money. A year had passed since Han Tae-sung started thinking he could make a living just by playing games. Although he was at a very ordinary level, he had obtained a class called Elemental Mage, and as a result of grinding like a beast, he became the leader of the BM Guild with 200 members. All right, for now, this is enough to live comfortably for a while. Han Tae-sung was ecstatic looking at the pile of treasure before him. Just then, a guy next to him with a ridiculously ugly avatar also exclaimed cheerfully, "Boss, this is amazing. This can be exchanged for a ton of cash." "Dude, how did you manage to find such a sweet treasure hoard?" In response to his question, Han Tae-sung lightly patted the noob's shoulder and said with a laugh, "Haha, I have my ways." And after that, he turned to everyone around him and said, "Is everyone free? Let me treat you all to a meal." "Really? You're a great commander." Everyone cheered. I feel like I have a knack for gaming even without a good education or family background. It's true that fate gives everyone a chance. This game is the only way for me to survive and make a living. At least that's what Han Tae-sung thought back then. Scene changed to a rainforest. For some reason, our protagonist Han Tae-sung is being chased for his life by 2 guys dressed like bandits. "Stop right there, you coward." The guys behind him yelled as they saw Han Tae-sung start to speed up. And then right after that, once he'd put some distance between them, Han Tae-sung suddenly leaped to the side and vanished from their sight. Huh. He was right in front of us a second ago. Where'd he go? Damn it, I can't see clearly in this heavy rain. He must have gone this way. Hurry up and find him. He has nowhere to run, they said, moving slowly and scanning their surroundings. Meanwhile, Han Tae-sung, hiding right behind a tree near them, was breaking out in a cold sweat. This is so infuriating, those damned psychos from the Genesis Guild. To explain why Han Tae-sung was being hunted by these two, they both belong to some damn guild. It's called Genesis. They're a pretty influential guild in BNW, and they're the bastards who destroyed the BM Guild that Han Tae-sung had built and run. Thinking back on what had just happened, Han Tae-sung could only lament his rotten luck, even though their guild is that big. I never imagined the power gap between our guilds was so huge. I can't believe we were wiped out, even when we fought properly. And just as Han Tae-sung was thinking this, the system sent him a notification. Warning. You have been playing Brave New World continuously for 47 hours. Excessive gaming may affect your normal daily life. A normal person seeing this notification would probably log out immediately. But Han Tae-sung was so dejected that he didn't even pay attention to the warning. Seriously, I have nowhere to go. So where am I supposed to go? Even if I log out right now, I'll just end up back in my moldy little room. To fight against Genesis, I took on a debt of hundreds of millions. Of won and prepared expensive items, but because of the betrayal of my trusted teammates, the enemy took them all. The only things I have left are these items, Han Tae-sung thought as he checked his pathetic inventory. And looking at it, it was no different from a beginner's starting kit: 3 pieces of beef jerky, a tattered cloak, a treasure map torn in 2 halves, and some kind of crystal staff. After checking his pile of items, Han Tae-sung started laughing foolishly. "Ha ha ha, is it all over?" Then Han Tae-sung gritted his teeth and said, "Why? Why couldn't I do it even though I tried? I gave it my all and dedicated everything." Why do I always fail? As he spoke, his body began to tremble uncontrollably, and tears streamed down the young man's face, unable to contain his emotions. And right at that moment, a voice suddenly rang out in front of Han Tae-sung. Because you are truly weak. This world isn't for the weak. It's dog eat dog. This world follows such a cruel law. It's only natural for the weak to be trampled upon. Complaining is useless. And at this old man's words of wisdom, Han Tae-sung was a bit startled and looked up at him thinking, an old man. When did he appear in front of me? But before Han Tae-sung could even guess the man's identity, his lecturing words began again. How pathetic seeing a young man acting like a beggar with that pale look, just begging for sympathy. Although it was true that he had hit rock bottom, but hearing those words directly still made him feel incredibly angry. How dare you call someone a beggar? Han Tae-sung thought angrily, then stood up to leave. Sir, please don't mind me and just be on your way. I don't have time to chit-chat with you, Han Tae-sung said irritably. The old man behind him frowned slightly. What's this kids these days? Don't they even know how to listen to their elders? And right after he said that, Han Tae-sung suddenly sensed something. He quickly turned around and warned, Sir, danger! But as Han Tae-sung looked, one of the two men who had been chasing him was charging in to attack from behind. Then a huge explosion erupted in the forest, and the other member of the Genesis Guild had now arrived. He praised the brown-haired man. Wow, that was amazing. You took him down in one hit. I told you to come with me, but you went on your own. That's because you're so slow, the brown-haired man complained. Turning to the bald man after the dust settled, he looked at the scene in front of him a little surprised and said, But is he really not going to log out? From his line of sight, it seemed Han Tae-sung had lunged forward to take the blow directly to avoid it hitting the old man behind him. Back to the story. At this moment, the brown-haired man also shared what he'd heard about Han Tae-sung. That's what he said himself. He doesn't want to log out because his real world is no different from hell. It's like he's in trillions of debt or something. Is it that serious? The bald man asked in surprise. Back to Han Tae-sung. Because of his foolish move, he was now clutching his arm in pain. Damn it, I don't even have a weapon to use, Han Tae-sung thought to himself. Then he quickly turned to warn the old man behind him. Old man, it's dangerous here. Get out of here quickly. But unfortunately for Han Tae-sung, his concern was misplaced. Looking at the old man, he didn't seem the least bit worried. He even nonchalantly asked back, Why should I do that? Hearing that, Han Tae-sung was furious. Damn it, this is no time for jokes. And while these two were bickering, the bald man noticed the old man. He wondered, Who's that old geezer? An NPC? Hearing this, the brown-haired man said, That guy's funny, isn't he? Worrying about an NPC. And while these two were enjoying the show, a voice rang out from behind them. He's always like that, always acting so noble and kind. Han Tae-sung on the opposite side heard this voice. He growled, You traitor Kim Jin-woo! At Han Tae-sung's words, Kim Jin-woo smiled casually and said, Traitor, isn't that a bit harsh? I just transferred. Because I received a better offer, that's all. Turning back to Han Tae-sung, he then said some very meaningless things. How could you do this to me? I treated you like family. And this remark almost made Kim Jin-woo, who was opposite him, die of laughter. Aren't you tired of that nonsense you call family? If you really thought we were family, you shouldn't have gone up against Genesis. You just didn't want to lose your guild. So you pushed your guild members to their deaths, didn't you? No, that's not it. Han Tae-sung was stunned by his words, but on this side, Kim Jin-woo also pulled a rare scepter from his inventory and declared, Family don't make me laugh. In this world, does an organization that can be as close as family even exist? If things are going well, sure, we're a family. If not, you just walk away. Turning back to Han Tae-sung upon seeing that scumbag pull out the scepter, his face twisted in anger as he said, So it really was you. You're the one who stole my weapon. So what if it was in your hands? It's nothing more than a useless piece of iron. So why don't you let me put it to good use? This weapon of yours is pretty amazing, you know. After Kim Jin-woo said this, he activated his own magic and launched a fireball straight at Han Tae-sung. The power of a magic spell combined with a rare staff was truly on another level. As soon as it made impact, it created a massive explosion. The two Genesis Guild members behind him were stunned to see Kim Jin-woo act so ruthlessly. They couldn't help but marvel, whoa, so decisive, even though they used to be so close. How can you be so cruel? Hearing this, Kim Jin-woo glanced back at him and said, If you want to climb to the top, you have to know how to step on others. Judging by his expression, he was incredibly proud of what he had just done, but his words had infuriated someone on the other side. What a truly rotten person. No matter how much of a scumbag someone is, they don't bite the hand that fed them like you did. I can never forgive you. These words came from the old man. It seems he had blocked all of Kim Jin-woo's magic with just one hand. Han Tae-sung, standing behind him, was now completely speechless with shock. The old man. Facing him, Kim Jin-woo was just as shocked. What the? That old man blocked my attack, Attack, you call that child's play an attack? Allow me to show you what a real attack is. As the old man spoke, he began gathering energy into his right fist, and then he casually swung his fist forward. And with just that one casual swing, it created a massive gale that shot forward, sweeping away those guys from the Genesis Guild. Han Tae-sung, on the other hand, didn't even have time to process what was happening. As the storm suddenly erupted, all he could do was shield his eyes and yell, What is this?" Then, he strained to open his eyes and look ahead only to fall back in shock at the sight before him. The forest, which had been lush and green moments ago, had now been turned into a wasteland, and a string of numbers 999,999,999,999 began to appear. Is that the maximum damage possible in this game? Han Tae-sung wondered, and at that very moment, a strange symbol suddenly appeared on his hand. Arcs of lightning shot out from it. Then the system displayed a notification, activating ancient language, comprehensive appraisal passerby, old man, existence form NPC, race human, level 999. Upon seeing level 999, Han Tae-sung's jaw dropped as wide as it could go. Oh my god! That level! It can't be level 999! Han Tae-sung's eyes were nearly blinded looking at this Grandmaster. This was despite the system announcing that he was just an old man. Passing by, turning back to the old man. After he had dealt with the small fry blocking his way, he turned to Han Tae-sung and said, "No. I've been watching you for a long time. You have no talent. You have no money and not even any luck." These 3 no's from the old man dealt so much psychological damage that Han Tae-sung practically coughed up blood. "No, this old man? Why would you just come out and say all that?" Han Tae-sung muttered to himself. The old man grew thoughtful for a moment, then continued. "But even so, I like the way you struggle with all your might." And as soon as the old NPC finished speaking, a notification message appeared beside Han Tae-sung. The destined bond of master and disciple. Quest classification epic. Content sincerely bow to the old man on the road. Reward unknown. Note: you must be completely sincere. Otherwise, he will beat you to death. After Han Tae-sung finished reading the quest description, he was so overjoyed he jolted to his senses. Oh my god, an epic quest for real, this is amazing. Besides, the quest itself isn't difficult at all. The note is a little strange, though. I don't know what that means, but an opportunity like this won't come a second time. There's no reason not to do it. With that thought, Han Tae-sung immediately clasped his hands, knelt, and spoke in the most sincere voice he could manage. Please accept me as your disciple. Thank you for saving my life, master. It seemed the system deemed Han Tae-sung's sincerity sufficient as it immediately displayed a notification. Confirmation quest. The destined bond of master and disciple completed. Congratulations. You have become the disciple of Deus. You have successfully changed your title. Your in-game class has changed from elemental mage to disciple. The sudden class change left Han Tae-sung a bit bewildered, but it was mostly because of this new disciple class. That sounds a little strange, but Deus could see the question on his face, so he confirmed, "Yes, that's right. You have become my disciple. Since you are my disciple, I will open the path to invincibility for you," Deus said, extending his hand toward Han Tae-sung. For his part, Han Tae-sung quickly grasped his hand and said, "Yes, master." And the very moment their hands touched, an incredibly complex magic circle appeared beneath their feet. The great elder Deus didn't seem to feel anything, but Han Tae-sung was right in the center of this magic circle. His guts felt like they were being twisted into knots. Oh crap, this is teleportation magic. Just as Han Tae-sung had that thought, his body vanished along with the magic circle. The scene immediately shifts to the Kunlun Mountains. At that moment, an enormous pillar of light suddenly appeared on the mountaintop, and after this pillar of light faded, Han Tae-sung's disheveled figure appeared once more. The moment he materialized, he started gasping for air, as if he had just survived an accident. To be able to use teleportation magic, something even high-ranking masters have trouble using instantly like this. Is this old man really an NPC, or is he a game master? Han Tae-sung silently speculated about the true identity of his NPC master. And while he was still thinking, Deus turned back and prompted him. Don't hesitate. Follow me. There is a suitable place here where I will train you. Yes, yes, master. Han Tae-sung hurriedly replied and quickly followed him into the cave. It wasn't long after they entered the cave that he was truly astonished by the sight before him. Whoa! Master, this lake is so clear. Following his gaze, there was a shimmering lake inside the cave. His master Deus spoke up to explain, This is a purification lake. The lake will purge the impurities from your body. Purge, what do you mean? Han Tae-sung said, glancing at him waiting for an answer. And to this question, Master Deus revealed his plan. I don't intend to train you for long. I plan to teach you in a short and bold 99-day crash course, and this purification lake will help with that. Han Tae-sung understood a little after hearing this, but he still didn't quite grasp the concept of purification, so he asked, What does that mean exactly? It means purification in the literal sense. New wine must be put in new wineskins. Because your body has too many impurities right now, you need to take a bath first, Deus said as he approached Han Tae-sung. And when he wasn't looking, the old man conveniently gave him a kick, sending our protagonist flying straight toward the lake's surface. And what do you know? Our protagonist, despite his age, still didn't know how to swim, so the moment he hit the water, his face went pale. Oh no, I'm going to drown, Han Tae-sung thought, hastily covering his mouth to keep the oxygen from escaping. But right after that, he discovered that he could breathe normally underwater. Huh, I can breathe. Han Tae-sung thought, happily enjoying the new sensation. And right after that, the lake's effect began to show as the system displayed a notification. Warning. The purification lake is helping you cleanse your body. Warning, intense pain will begin shortly. Prepare for agonizing pain. As for Han Tae-sung, his face went completely blank. And before he could even understand what was happening, his body was suddenly struck by an incredibly intense pain, making him cry out in agony. At the same time, a countdown timer appeared. Time remaining 59 minutes and 59 seconds. And his tortured screams from below only made Master Deus on the shore feel delighted. Hey kid, it's great to hear you can let out. In such a loud scream, he cheerfully praised the disciple he had just taken on. Back to Han Tae-sung, he was in so much pain that his mind was in chaos. My whole body, no, it feels like every single cell is being set on fire. How can the game system allow this level of pain? This is impossible. I have to log out. I have to log out. Han Tae-sung thought to himself and began to raise his trembling hand toward the system window. But just as he was about to press the log out button, his trembling finger stopped. Because at that moment, amidst the pain, Han Tae-sung's terrible past memories began to flood back. From the guild he worked so hard to build being destroyed by the Money MD Genesis Guild to being chased until he was exhausted by 2 of its members, and even the unpleasant memories of his family life back in high school, and even the days he had to toil away at a construction site. These memories and this suffering seemed to give Han Tae-sung the mental strength to endure this pain. No, I can't run away like this again. Han Tae-sung gritted his teeth and endured, waiting for the time to pass. And so it went. An hour of hell on earth has ended. The very moment the countdown timer hit 0 minutes and 0 seconds, Han Tae-sung immediately surfaced and successfully swam to shore. I did it! I did it! Han Tae-sung grinned with immense satisfaction. And as a reward for his efforts, the system displayed a confirmation notice warning. The purification process is complete. Player's character information will be reset. Name Han Tae-sung. Level decreased from 201 to 1. Classification Adventurer. Class Disciple. This reward couldn't be any better. Looking at his level being reduced to 1, Han Tae-sung was so thrilled, his face twisted. Level 1, Han Tae-sung said, trembling as his eyes bulged. He pressed his face right up against the screen to see if it was a mistake. But unfortunately for Han Tae-sung, there was no mistake. Because Deus standing behind him confirmed, oh, the purification process was completed perfectly. Han Tae-sung's face turned pale upon hearing that. He turned back and asked his master, what is this? Why is my level 1 just 1 hour ago I was just a piece of trash? Deus threw him a towel and said, if you're talking about 1 hour ago, that was before you met me, wasn't it? Across from him, Master Deus began to enlighten his disciple. Your strength, stamina, speed, none of it was any good, with such unbalanced stats. Tell me, how could you possibly become invincible? Hearing his master's words, Han Tae-sung began to vaguely understand something. Does he mean he reset my level because my stats were a complete mess? He turned towards Deus, who continued to explain, I will help you overcome all the weaknesses of your body and help you unleash your potential to its absolute limit. In other words, when others gain 1 mana upon leveling up, you will be able to gain 1.2 mana. That's about 20% more. After hearing his master's explanation, his mind raced. Wait, if that's the case, then using a standard of 100 when others get 100 mana, I can get 120 mana. At this thought, Han Tae-sung was so overjoyed that he immediately knelt before his master. Master, thank you for this grace. Please allow me to bow my head in gratitude. Seeing this, Master Deus let out a sigh and then laughed. Haha, you've bowed far too much today. But it's still too early to be bowing to me like that. There is still a very long road ahead to become invincible. In the remaining 99 days, this process will be repeated 100 times and you will have to train even harder. But without needing any more encouragement, Han Tae-sung confidently declared, I will definitely do it. To become stronger, whether it's 100 or 1,000 times, I will never give up. Faced with Han Tae-sung's resolute attitude, Master Deus was a little surprised. But right after that, he smiled and said, I hope that will of yours doesn't waver. And just like that, Han Tae-sung's training with his level 999 master had officially begun. Quest: The Beginning of True Training. Rebirth. Content: Deus's training regimen. Current progress 1%. At the same time, at the headquarters of the company that produces BNVL2 in the United States, inside this massive building, there was a special department called Hexagon. While the employees were sitting around shooting the breeze, a system alert suddenly rang out. Epic Code 007 has been activated. And as soon as that sound was heard, the employees who had been chatting were startled. And right after that, the whole group rushed over to a man who looked like their team leader and asked, Deus took on a disciple. Who is it? Is it a professional gamer? No, it seems he's just a regular gamer, the man said calmly. Just then, a voice rang out from behind them. Just a regular gamer, you say? Enlarge the screen. The owner of this voice was the vice president, who was also the manager of the Hexagon team, Oppenheimer. The other employees saw him and hurriedly projected Han Tae-sung's information onto the screen. This piqued Oppenheimer's interest. So he's a regular player from South Korea, huh? Han Tae-sung, let's see how long you can last. I wanted to escape that hellish reality. I came to BNVL as if I were running away from reality, but this place turned out to be no different. As I was wondering if the abyss I was in wasn't reality, but perhaps something created by my own weakness. Just as that abyss of despair was about to swallow me whole, I met my master. And just like that, I found hope once again. I began training to become invincible, from soaking in the purification pool to remove my body's impurities to acupuncture to open up my meridians. I even started martial arts training and mountain climbing. And just like that, before I knew it, 3 months had flown by. Right now, inside a small house on top of Kunlun Mountain, the master and disciple were happily drinking together. But Master froze right after taking just a small sip. He laughed heartily, as if saying, so the day has finally come for my disciple to offer me wine. Come on, you drink too. Thank you, Master, Han Tae-sung said calmly. Then Master Deus got straight to the point. As of today, the 99 days of our agreement have ended. You won't have any regrets leaving these Kunlun Mountains, will you? Across from him, Han Tae-sung looked a bit flustered and replied, Sigh. Well, I suppose so. To finally end these hellish training days. How could I possibly have any regrets? You've only trained for 3 months and you're this weak. I even gave you breaks during training. In my time, we weren't even allowed to sleep. Hearing him say that, he could only cry on the inside. Because during all his breaks, he had to rush to a construction site to work as a bricklayer and pay off his debts. At that thought, Han Tae-sung took a sip of wine to warm himself up and said, Now that I think about it, I've been curious for a while. Master, did you also have a time like mine? Hearing his student's question, the master, who was sitting across from him, looked a little surprised. He then slowly set down his wine cup and began to speak of the past. Of course. This master too once pursued ultimate power. Certainly not like a good-for-nothing like you. 500 years ago, there were 8 of the strongest grandmasters on the continent, and I was always ranked last. I was desperate to defeat those stronger than me, and the result of holding myself up in these Kunlun Mountains to train was that I was able to attain ultimate power. But even so, I still couldn't defeat them. Hearing this, Han Tae-sung asked, puzzled, "Were they that strong?" "No. By the time I came down from the mountain, 500 years had passed. So all those old geezers had died of old age." Han Tae-sung's face was a mask of bewilderment, having no idea what was going on, but Master Deus ignored Han Tae-sung's reaction and continued. "But because I was so engrossed in my training for so long, I lost track of the flow of time. But thanks to that, the enlightenment I achieved during my training was not in vain. Here, take this." As he spoke, he tossed Han Tae-sung a secret manual and asked, "Do you know what it means to be invincible? Doesn't it just mean being stronger than everyone else?" Han Tae-sung asked. Wrong. What's called invincibility is the power to never be defeated. It is the power of victory, no matter who or what the enemy is," Deus declared emphatically. But this still left Han Tae-sung feeling restless. "But that victory is only possible if you're stronger than the enemy, right?" In response to Han Tae-sung's words, Deus just smiled and said, "There's no need to become stronger. You just need to make an enemy who is stronger than you weaker. The beginning and the end of a debuff master. In short, according to this old man's enlightenment, if you can't get any stronger yourself, then just find a way to make the enemy weaker, and you're set." And after Deus finished explaining his philosophy on life, the system displayed a confirmation message. Notification quest, begin true cultivation, a complete rebirth, complete. Details: you have endured 100% of Deus's training. You have successfully changed your class. Your class has been changed from Disciple to Debuff Master. Your nickname has been changed from Tae-sung to Zax. Getting a new class was one thing, but for the system to change his name on its own left Han Tae-sung feeling a bit bewildered. But just then, Master Deus glanced at him and said, "You are my one and only disciple. Therefore you need a name befitting that title. Don't you agree? From now on you shall use that name." Back to Han Tae-sung, who was now beginning to feel stunned by this old man's power. "You can't change your nickname in this game. And yet he can change the rules of the game system itself. But this is good. Changing my name. It feels fresh, like I've been reborn. With this power, I can finally beat those guys from Genesis," Han Tae-sung thought, clenching his fists with a determined look in his eyes. Just then, Master Deus seemed to remember something. He turned to remind Han Tae-sung, "Also, now that you are my disciple, there is something you must do. Those rivals I mentioned before, they're all dead now. But each of them trained their own successor before they went to their graves. You are to defeat those descendants. Use the techniques that I have created." Following Deus's request, the system immediately displayed a quest notification. Quest: the Master's Grudge. Classification: Epic. Details: excluding your Master Deus from the 8 powerhouses who dominated the continent 500 years ago, you must defeat their 7 descendants. Progress 0 out of 7. Descendant of the Thunder God Vyra. Descendant of the Sword. Saint Murcielago. Descendant of the Great Sage. Sigat. Descendant of the Blood Demon, Berserk. Descendant of the Magic King, Mao Grease. Descendant of the Divine Archer. Winfox. Descendant of the Overlord Brahm. After seeing this quest, Han Tae-sung turned to face his master. He smiled, clasped his hands, and said, "Of course, Master, no matter who they are, this disciple will defeat every last one of them and prove your strength. You have a good eye. Your training ends here. Now descend the mountain and become the strongest to succeed me." As Deus spoke, he began to snap his fingers, and then right after, a magic circle crackling with lightning appeared beneath Han Tae-sung's feet. Finally, a pillar of light shot straight down from the sky above, and Han Tae-sung himself vanished along with that beam of light. But after Han Tae-sung had left, Deus realized that they had only had 1 cup of wine before getting down to business, and they hadn't eaten a single thing. The scene shifts to the far western region of the continent, Burman territory. After Deus's teleportation magic ended, Han Tae-sung had been thrown into this very place. "Burman territory, huh? He didn't teleport me very far, did he?" Han Tae-sung mumbled upon arriving in the territory. This actually made Han Tae-sung feel a little relieved. "This is good, actually. My current level is only 1. In my present state, I'm still too weak to confront the Genesis clan. The most urgent task now is to reach at least level 100 without any interruptions." With that in mind, Han Tae-sung sat down on a nearby log and began to check his class information. Hidden Class Debuff Master. Role: Melee Damage Support. Area of Effect Damage. Description: uses debuffs. Various debuffs and physical attacks to weaken enemies. Main weapon: Heavy Weapon. Main defensive gear: Heavy Armor. Equipment Mastery Level 1 Tool, Proficiency S. Level 1. Shield Proficiency S. Level 1. Greatsword Proficiency S. Level 1. Spear Proficiency S. Level 1. Gauntlet Proficiency S. Level 1. Heavy Armor Proficiency S. Skills: Debuff Master, Total Weaken Annihilation, Field, Fatal Blow, Speed Restriction Locked, Contempt for the Strong Locked. Note: Fatal Blow is an active skill. Got it. So Total Weaken and Annihilation Field are area of effect debuff skills, huh? Han Tai-sung mumbled and began to carefully examine each skill. Annihilation. Field Level 1 creates a circular field centered on the caster that reduces the enemy's defense and resistance. As the skill level increases, the affected area expands. Total Weaken Level 1 creates a circular field centered on the caster that gradually reduces the enemy's health and mana. As the skill level increases, the affected area expands and the amount of damage increases. Since this is a fixed damage method proportional to the caster's mana, it is not affected by the enemy's defense or resistance. This is it. After Han Tai-sung finished reading the skill descriptions, his eyes practically bulged out of his head. Isn't this totally insane? It doesn't just lower their defense, but their resistance too. And on top of that, it's fixed damage that scales with my mana. This is just too perfect. I want to try it out right away. Are there no monsters around? Or maybe I should just grab a passing NPC and rough them up a bit. Han Tai-sung was so excited his thoughts started to run wild. And as if the heavens themselves wanted to satisfy Han Tai-sung's primal urge, an opportunity presented itself at that very moment. Suddenly, a desperate cry rang out from ahead of him. "Ah, I'm not your enemy." Hearing this, Han Tai-sung quickly turned his head toward the source of the sound. In his line of sight, a massive tiger was charging toward him like a tank, and clamped in its mouth was a cage. And the voice from earlier was coming from a hamster trapped inside that very cage. Just then, the hamster spotted Han Tai-sung and shrieked even more desperately, "Hey, you human! Save me!" Its cry for help triggered the quest system. Hidden Emergency. Quest: Rescue the Great Spirit. Objective: Defeat the mutated tiger 0 out of 1. Free the Great Spirit 0%. Reward unknown. As for Han Tai-sung, after seeing the terrifyingly huge tiger, his first instinct was to run, but the moment he saw the hidden quest, he stopped in his tracks. A hidden quest that hamster is a great spirit. Besides that mutated tiger, how can there be such a high-level monster in a beginner area? Mutated tiger level 25. A tiger mutated by a mysterious energy, and because of the quest's unknown reward, Han Tai-sung glanced at the log beside him and made his decision. Master did say, "No matter how strong the opponent is, all I have to do is make them weaker." With that thought, Han Tai-sung picked up the log, and in the next moment, he simultaneously activated Annihilation Field to reduce the enemy's defense and magic resistance, while also activating Total Weaken to model, to drain this tiger's stamina and mana. But as soon as the tiger and the mouse entered the skill's range, their speed decreased. Looking at the mouse over here, it already looked completely wasted. It seems this weakening effect is just too overwhelming for its body, which barely has any meat on its bones. Han Tai-sung also took the opportunity while the tiger was slowed down to swing his club right at its mouth. This sent the cage holding the mouse flying, but this tiger was completely worthy of its mutant title. A strike from a level 1 player only served to piss it off more. It hadn't caused much damage at all. It immediately retaliated with a lightning-fast pounce, but luckily for Han Tai-sung, the tiger had been slowed down considerably. So he was able to duck in time and dodge the attack. And right after that, Han Tai-sung gifted this stupid tiger 4 or 5 club strikes right to the body. Of course, it still didn't cause much damage to the mutant tiger. It didn't even bother to defend itself. It only focused on attacking Han Tai-sung. Just like now, it started swinging its paw as big as a fan right at his face. Faced with this devastating blow, Han Tai-sung calmly observed and ducked his head just as the blow was about to land. As a result, the mutant tiger missed again while the fat mouse in the back watched the human and tiger fight. It had been staring wide-eyed this whole time. Awesome. Too awesome. A mere level 1 human could go toe-to-toe with a level 20-plus mutant like this. Thinking this, it seemed to see its hope for survival in Han Tai-sung, and it cried out desperately, "Hey, human over there, please win and save me." Back to Han Tai-sung. That damn mouse hadn't done anything this whole time but scream its head off, which was starting to piss him off. That hamster has been so damn noisy this whole time. Is it cheering me on or getting in my way? Han Tae-sung grumbled, but very quickly after, he regained his composure and observed his opponent. I've hit it a dozen times and it still has half its health bar. Even with the debuff, I can't underestimate the level gap. My mana and stamina are starting to drop too. The weapon is reaching its limit. If I can't finish this with the next strike, I'm a goner, Han Tae-sung thought as he gripped his wrist tightly. Then he crouched down slightly and slowly brought the club back to gather power. It seems Han Tae-sung is going to bet everything on this next attack as he activates his critical hit skill. This skill will land a powerful blow on the enemy. At this moment, on the opposite side, it seems the mutant tiger also realized that Han Tae-sung was about to unleash some kind of terrifying move. So it didn't rush forward to attack, just like that. The two began to stare each other down, having a staring contest to see who would blink first. And it seems the loser was the mutant tiger. After a moment of staring, it couldn't hold back any longer and lunged forward. With just one leap, it instantly vanished from its spot and charged straight at Han Tae-sung. But from Han Tae-sung's perspective, the stupid tiger's 5 sharp claws were already right in front of his face. And in this dangerous moment, Han Tae-sung began to use 120% of his visual ability to carefully observe the attack's trajectory, then slightly tilted his head to the side to dodge. And just as the tiger was attacking and unable to defend, Han Tae-sung swung the club in his hand, infused with the critical hit skill, straight into the mutant tiger's maw. And the result was right after that. A shattering sound rang out. The blow was so powerful it created a shockwave in the air that spread outwards, and the club in Han Tae-sung's hand shattered into pieces. As for the mutant tiger, needless to say, its teeth and jaw were utterly destroyed. Poor guy didn't even get to enjoy its mutant powers for long, before it kicked the bucket and turned into nutrients for Han Tae-sung. And thanks to this tiger, right after that, a series of "You have leveled up" notifications appeared next to him. As a result, with just this one monster, Han Tae-sung reached level 15, straight to level 15 just like that. It was worth risking my life to fight for this. I defeated something that was supposed to be unbeatable. So this is the power of a debuff master, Master Han Tae-sung said to himself, looking at the corpse of the tiger with its tongue hanging out. Meanwhile, the fat mouse in the back, after seeing the stupid tiger had been defeated, screamed as if its house was on fire. Hey human, don't just stand there. Hurry up and get this thing off me. So noisy, Han Tae-sung mumbled. But then, he still helped this pig mouse get out. As for this hamster, as soon as it was released, it was overjoyed. Phew, I'm alive. Thank you, human, I really want to repay this favor. Aren't you lonely exploring by yourself? Especially if you want to, I will come along. It seemed to want to go with Han Tae-sung, but before it could even finish its proposal, Han Tae-sung turned and walked away, saying, "But I'm not lonely." The fat mouse behind him heard this, and it seemed he hadn't considered the possibility of Han Tae-sung refusing him, seeing his decisive departure. It made the pig mouse hurriedly hug Han Tae-sung's leg and wail, Wait, I've lost all my memories now. I don't have any power at all. Take me with you." Back to Han Tae-sung after seeing this little thing. A claim it had no power or abilities whatsoever, he showed his disdain. Why is this thing so messy and pathetic? I'm not into keeping pets, Han Tae-sung grumbled, but at that very moment, the system announced the completion of the Rescue the Great Spirit quest. Objective: kill the mutant tiger 1 out of 1. Rescue the Great Spirit 100%. Reward: contract with the Great Spirit of the Forest. 2. After Han Tae-sung saw the reward for this quest, he was disappointed to death. The quest reward is this kid what rotten luck. And then, he glanced at the description and thought it over. Wait a minute. On second thought, this kid is called a Great Spirit, right? I heard that, even if it's a hamster. If it's a Great Spirit, its level is equivalent to a Spirit King. It might not be anything special right now, but when it regains its power, then... Thinking this, Han Tae-sung looked down at the fat mouse wailing pitifully while hugging his leg and said, Fine, let's make a contract. Its mouth is foul, but its face is kinda cute. The fat mouse heard this and looked at him with sparkling eyes, then asked, Really? Back to Han Tae-sung not wanting to waste any more time, he began, All right, I'll start now. With that, Han Tae-sung began the process of signing the contract with the fat mouse. Just after he accepted the reward, strange runes appeared on the back of his hand. Then golden chains appeared one by one and shot towards the hamster, and just like that, the contract process was complete. That was too easy. The system immediately displayed a confirmation message. You have successfully signed a contract with the Great Spirit. Great Spirit of the Forest level, 15 levels up with the contractor. Race Divine Beast, Class Trickster. Titles, Tyrant of the Forest, Guardian of the Forest, Demon of the Forest, Lout of the Forest, Playboy of the Forest. Owned skills none. High-level skills are not yet usable. Back to Han Tae-sung after looking at this fat mouse's information. He was a bit lost in thought. If it levels up with the contractor, then as I get stronger, this little guy will get stronger too, huh? What the hell is Playboy of the Forest? And while Han Tae-sung was still thinking, the fat mouse below coughed a few times to get his attention and said, Ahem, now that the contract is signed, allow me to formally introduce myself. My name is Prometheus Cactus Hydra Levi blah blah. In short, it was a super long name, and before he could finish, Han Tae-sung cut him off. Your name's too long. From now on, your name is Hamchi. Han Tae-sung said this with a very mischievous smile, and as for Hamchi, when he heard his new name, his eyes went as wide as goose eggs, and it seemed this name, could not be changed. The name change was permitted by the system, and once changed, it couldn't be reverted. And of course, this name lacked the majesty that our fat mouse was certainly not happy about. At this, it began to puff out its cheeks and glare at Han Tae-sung. Our protagonist probably felt a little guilty for giving it this name. So he had to say, sorry, but can you drop that stupid look on your face? How could you give me a name like that? Hamchi said angrily, which only made Han Tae-sung even more amused. What's wrong with it? Hamchi is cute, Han Tae-sung said as he glanced at it with a slightly smug look. How can the name of a great spirit be Hamchi anyway? All my dignity is gone. Well, you can't change it now. Just accept being Hamchi, Han Tae-sung advised, and then he voiced his question. But you're a great spirit. So why were you locked in a cage like that? Hearing his question, Hamji closed his eyes to recall and said, I don't know either. When I came to, I was already locked in the cage. I can't remember any of my previous memories at all. The only things I remember are my name and that I'm the spirit of some forest. So, all in all, a pretty frustrating situation, huh? Han Tae-sung said in a rather nonchalant tone, and his words made Hamchi so angry he started to cry. That's why, since you're my master, you have to help me get my memories back. Now, don't be so hasty. The first thing we need to do is for both of us to get stronger, Han Tae-sung said calmly, and as he spoke these words. Before the two of them was the sight of some town, and the first thing Han Tae-sung did after entering this town, he immediately rushed straight to the mercenary guild. Welcome, adventurer. What brings you to our mercenary guild? The owner of this voice was named Jericho. He was an NPC staff member of the mercenary guild. Han Tae-sung, who was standing opposite him, stated his request, I want to get a mercenary license. As he said this, he already had a plan. Because if he wanted to level up quickly again, he would need this kind of license. Returning to the present moment, Jericho explained, To get a license, we need to verify your qualifications a bit. Even if you're an immortal being, we still need to at least confirm you have some abilities. First, you'll need to eliminate the mutated rabbits that roam the villages in the Burman territory. But before the old man could finish, Han Tae-sung placed a claw on the table and said, Can this be used for verification? After seeing the claw, Jericho was genuinely astonished. Isn't this the claw of a mutated tiger? The claw of a mutated tiger. Due to its high hardness and durability, it's used as a low-grade weapon. Turning back to Han Tae-sung, he proudly showed off his trophy to the man before him. I caught it on my way to the village. Doesn't this prove my skills far better than catching some mutated rabbits or mice? That's true. But I can't believe you caught that mutant all by yourself. No, that can't be right, can it? He muttered, looking at Han Tae-sung's foolish expression. Perhaps his scruffy appearance had caused his confidence in Han Tae-sung to plummet. But it didn't matter. At the very least, this is enough to prove Han Tae-sung is qualified to be a mercenary. The verification is sufficient. I'll issue you a license, so follow me, Jericho said casually, slipping the claw into his jacket pocket. It was unclear if he was confiscating it, but Han Tae-sung didn't pay much attention to that. The only thing he cared about was whether or not he could get his mercenary license. I was a bit worried, but it looks like everything went smoothly, Han Tae-sung thought to himself. Not long after, Jericho handed Han Tae-sung a mercenary's emblem. Here, this is your mercenary guild license. Thanks. Han Tae-sung happily took the license, and while he was still celebrating, Jericho, who was in front of him, looked a bit troubled and said, if you have a moment, and could you listen to my story? The thing is, lately, mutated monsters have been flocking here in unusual numbers. Even a nearby farm was attacked by monsters a few days ago. It's making the villagers extremely scared. Hearing this, Han Tae-sung became a little curious and asked, Are monster appearances a frequent thing in the villages here? Yes, and what's more, just a short while ago, that mutated tiger you caught is a type of monster that shouldn't even be seen in this Burman territory. But recently, it's not just mutated tigers. Vicious monsters like mutated wolves and mutated oxen have also appeared and are threatening the Burman territory. After hearing this, Han Tae-sung understood everything. So that's it. No wonder it felt so laggy. For a small area like this to have level 20 monsters, something was definitely wrong. Meanwhile, Jericho began to state his request. Han Tae-sung, I hope you'll help us. And after he said that, the system displayed a quest notification. Protect the Burman territory. Quest type normal. Content. Help the Burman territory with all your might until this situation is resolved. Progression rules none. Completion reward 100 gold. Returning to Han Tae-sung, since the system had already issued the quest. He couldn't really refuse, but he still complained a little. But my level is too low to help you guys. Hearing this, Jericho said awkwardly, It's a bit embarrassing to say this, but in this village, the only person who has single-handedly caught a mutated tiger is you. Besides, our territory is in the backwoods of all backwoods, so we don't even have a magic communication circle. If we want to get help from the outside, it would take a week at the very least. Han Tae-sung's head was spinning after hearing this. Is this place really that much in the boonies? Normally I wouldn't take on an overwhelming quest like this, but with this quest, this has the smell of a tyrant's doing. Thinking this, Han Tae-sung made his decision and said, I understand what you're saying, sir. All right, just leave everything to me, Han Tae-sung said with a smile. At the same time, a short distance from the Burman territory in a city within the Australia territory, there was someone else. He was trying to drag his blood-soaked body forward. Unfortunately, one of his legs had been cut off so he couldn't run, and at that moment, he could only cry out in despair, Help! And that would be the last word this man ever spoke, because right after, an axe blade swung straight towards the man. Then a cold voice rang out, I told you not to raise your head. As expected, humans are a foolish race. But don't worry, I am far superior to you, and I will become your king. These words seemed to come from some kind of mutant goblin. Back to Han Tae-sung as he prepared for this new mission. He got himself a new set of clothes. After seeing his new outfit, that little guy Hamchi couldn't help but praise him. Oh, young master, a moment ago you looked exactly like a beggar. Now you just kind of look like a beggar. What do you mean, kind of look like a beggar? Han Tae-sung said angrily. After that, he waited for Hamchi to climb onto his shoulder and explained, I had to buy clothes because I couldn't keep wearing that tattered old training uniform. After speaking, he looked at the sharp, four-sided mace in his hand and thought, this weapon should be more than enough. I can't wait to try it out. And while Han Tae-sung was still feeling excited, that fat mouse Hamchi ordered him, well, shopping's done. Time to eat right. Hearing this, all of Han Tae-sung's joy vanished instantly. This glutton, we just bought mana crystals and you've already eaten them all. Those were just low-grade mana crystals. They weren't even enough for a snack. What, do you have any idea how expensive those were, you pig hamster? Han Tae-sung yelled. And so, the man and the mouse started bickering loudly, neither one willing to back down. And while the two of them were glaring daggers at each other, a voice called out from beside them. It caught both of their attention. So you're the adventurer who caught that mutant tiger, huh? It's a pleasure to meet you. I'm Jang Manbok. I'll be completing this mission with your party. He said this while extending his hand toward Han Tae-sung. At the same time, Jang Manbok also introduced his two teammates beside him. The young man with the ponytail is Thompson, and the one with the center-parted hair is Rudy. Turning back to Han Tae-sung, he looked at the three of them and recalled, So these are the other mercenaries that old man Jericho mentioned. Thinking this, Han Tae-sung shook his hand and introduced himself. I'm Secret. I look forward to working with you. No, we're the ones who should be looking forward to your help, Attack Captain Jang Manbok said, shaking Han Tae-sung's hand vigorously. Han Tae-sung, on the other hand, was confused when he heard himself suddenly being made the attack captain. Attack captain me. Ho, well, you're the strongest one here. So naturally, you have to be the captain. We're just newcomers. We couldn't even catch a mutant tiger on our own. Are they really this blatant about freeloading? Han Tae-sung thought with resignation, then said, I understand. After the introductions were over, Thompson stepped forward from the back and asked, All right, the team is formed. What should we do now? Across from him, Han Tae-sung replied, Old man Jericho's request was to protect the village alongside the Burman regular army, so let's start at the Bugatti farm. The situation there is said to be the most serious. Not long after that, At the Bugatti farm inside the Berlin territory, a squad of soldiers was struggling to fight off the mutant wolves attacking the area, and Han Tae-sung's group had already joined the battle. Thompson, Jang Man-bok yelled as he blocked an attack from a mutant wolf with his shield. Thompson reacted instantly as soon as he saw the opening. Created by his teammate, he charged forward with his spear and ran the wolf through, finishing it off in one go. "Over here." On seeing this, Jang Man-bok collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. "Phew, I'm exhausted. Even if I were 10 years younger, I wouldn't have the stamina for this," he complained. But before the old man, I could rest for long. Thompson spotted something up ahead and said, "Huh, is that thing coming this way?" "What's coming?" Jang Man-bok asked, puzzled, then glanced forward. Following his gaze, he saw a mutant bull charging straight towards them like a tank. Anyone who dared stand in its way was sent flying, without mercy, and Jang Man-bok and Thompson themselves couldn't escape. The fate of being knocked away. This was a level 25 mutant bull, a cow mutated by an unidentifiable energy. And its target right now seemed to be Han Tae-sung, who was busy wiping the floor with the wolves. The soldiers nearby saw the bull charging and ran for their lives, but luckily there was one guy who still had a bit of a conscience left, so he immediately shouted a warning that it was coming. "Run!" Seeing this, Han Tae-sung also hurriedly faced forward, but by then the bull was already too close. With no other choice, he instantly used his critical hit skill and prepared to fight this bull to the death. And just as this bull entered his attack range, he landed a mountain-shattering strike right on its head. The blow was so powerful that the bull collapsed to the ground instantly. The ground beneath its feet also cracked into many pieces, and the bull's defeat gave Han Tae-sung enough experience to reach level 20. But even so, he wasn't happy at all. "Damn it, there are too many people watching, so I can't use my debuff skills. At this rate, it would have been better to hunt alone," Han Tae-sung thought, gritting his teeth. Just then, Ruji started helping Mr. Kang Man-bok over and asked, "Hey, are you okay?" "I'm fine. Are the others all right?" "I think a few people were hit by the bull just now," Han Tae-sung asked worriedly. In response, Mr. Kang Man-bok could only sigh and say, "I'm the tank, so I'm okay. But Thompson is pretty badly injured. It's not life-threatening, but for now he can't get up." At this, the man had to praise Han Tae-sung. "Still, you're really skilled. Taking down a mutant bull all by yourself. I guess the rumor about you catching a mutant tiger alone wasn't a lie, huh? Have you considered becoming a pro gamer?" "It was all just luck," Han Tae-sung said shyly. After all, for a player who had reached level 200 to now be praised for killing a few weak monsters like this, was a little embarrassing. He turned back towards the horde of monsters. Suddenly a voice echoed in their minds, "Return." This sound was like a switch for the monsters. As soon as they heard it, they all turned in one direction and fled immediately. Han Tae-sung watched stunned as the monsters suddenly took off like the wind. It left him completely bewildered. "They've run away. Is the quest complete just like that? That's strange. All those mutants are running in the same direction as if they've been summoned. It looks like they received an order to retreat." And just as Han Tae-sung had guessed right after that, the system sent him another quest. Investigation quest. Classification normal quest. Content. Find the reason why the mutants caused the monster wave. Completion 0%. Completion reward. 200 gold. Note none. Is this a linked quest with the Defend the Territory quest? So that means it's not over just by wiping out the monsters, right? Han Tae-sung thought to himself, then turned to Kang Man-bok and Ruji. "You guys go back to the tent first. I'm going to find out where these monsters went." Seeing this, Mr. Kang Man-bok asked worriedly, "Will you be okay going alone?" "I'll be fine. I'm the only one in perfect condition anyway." Hamchi, hiding in the scarf around his neck, added, "And he has me, so there's no need to worry." "All right then," the man said, bewildered at the sight of the talking rodent. After that, Han Tae-sung and the fat mouse set off after the monsters, following their tracks. From the footprints they left behind, he was able to deduce a few things. "As I thought, they're all heading to the same place. But this direction, this must be toward the territory, east of Schreier. Could it be they've changed their target to Schreier?" Han Tae-sung wondered. Just then, the fat mouse Hamchi noticed something and called out to him. "Hey, Kidmaster over here. I was wondering where you'd gone. So you were just playing around here, huh?" The pig mouse didn't pay much attention to Han Tae-sung's complaints. Instead, the little guy looked ahead and said, "Look over there," following its gaze. Before them stood a magnificent castle. Han Tae-sung immediately recognized it. So this is the stronghold of the Schreier territory. But why is it so run down it looks like an abandoned city? And just as Han Tae-sung said that the castle gates suddenly swung open, the sight that followed made Han Tae-sung's expression turn serious because as soon as the gates opened, a goblin appeared. A bright yellow one holding a giant axe and riding a majestic tiger began to walk out. The surrounding mutant monsters and goblins all knelt down upon seeing it, as if welcoming their king. This yellow-skinned goblin was the legendary Golden Goblin, one of which appears once every 100 years. Race Goblin. Class Goblin Lord. Attributes Dark and Fire. Special ability Domination, mental control over monsters only. Back to Han Tae-sung. After seeing the description of this monster, he broke out in a cold sweat. A Goblin Lord. What's more, it has a mind control skill. So the recent mutant uprising, it must be this guy's doing. Just then, Hamchi the pig rat at his side also figured out the problem and said, "Well, we know the cause now. So what do we do? First, let's head back to the tent. I can't handle this situation alone." Han Tae-sung said worriedly, then quietly slipped away, before this yellow-skinned creature could spot him. The scene shifts to the camp area of the Burman territory. As soon as he returned, Han Tae-sung rushed here immediately, to report everything he had seen. The commander of this place personally came to greet him. "Greetings, I am the commander-in-chief of the Burman army. I am Christopher. It's a pleasure to meet you." Han Tae-sung said cheerfully, "I've heard about your achievements. Jerry has recommended you highly. Honestly, I'd like to talk with you more. But the situation is extremely urgent, so I'll get straight to the point." With that, he looked at the regional map and began to summarize the situation. "The Australia territory that we're looking at here has fallen to the goblins. If that's the case, then the main cause of the mutant situation is the goblins." Han Tae-sung on the side, hearing him say this, added what he had seen, saying, "To be precise, it's a goblin lord. That thing used its mind control ability to command the mutants and destroy the Australia territory. And now it's targeting this Burman territory." A knight standing nearby heard this and said worriedly, "Commander, if that's true, then our Burman territory is finished. A goblin lord is not a monster we can handle." Even Han Tae-sung had to agree with this opinion. "We need to evacuate the lord and the people now," he suggested. And while the group was tense, Uncle Kong Monbok suddenly raised his hand to speak. It feels a bit strange to say this all of a sudden, but the Australia territory is our next-door neighbor, and it was destroyed. So why is it that we still don't know about it until now?" Commander Bridge heard this and calmly explained, "We didn't have much interaction with Schreier to begin with, and a small territory like that doesn't have a proper communication network either." And just as he said that, Han Tae-sung helped him explain a few things. "There's another reason. The Burman soldiers didn't have the spare time to investigate because they had to focus on fending off the mutant attacks. The Goblin Lord definitely targeted that weakness. It isolated Burman to create this exact situation." After hearing Han Tae-sung's words, Commander Bridge was truly resentful. "Our Burman has a proud 300-year history, and it's about to be destroyed just because of some goblins. How can I possibly report this to the Lord?" His arm trembled with anger as he spoke, but right at that moment, Han Tae-sung's voice rang out. "It's not like there's no way." "What is it?" Bridge hurriedly turned to ask, and in response to his eager question, Han Tae-sung calmly said, "I can't be 100% sure, but if we have time, it's worth a try. Time for me to train and level up more." Han Tae-sung's face showed a look of extreme confidence as he said this. "The plan is pretty simple. We'll form a commando unit with the fastest members. Using guerrilla tactics, we'll thin out the variants' numbers, scatter their formation as much as possible, and then lure them away. Once they're drawn toward me, I'll know how to handle the rest. After I hit level 30, I'll join forces with everyone to face the horde. The goblins on the other side." Commander Bleach listened and thought it over. "Leveling up, huh? People from another world like you, thanks to that unique player trait, are bound to grow incredibly fast. But the Goblin Lord is level 50. Even if you reach level 30, isn't there still a 20-level difference?" I wasn't too surprised to hear him say that. "That's right. It sounds like I'm at a disadvantage, doesn't it? But just like how I caught a level 20 variant tiger when I was only level 1, it's not impossible. And even if I fail in the end, it will still buy us time for reinforcements to arrive," Han Tae-sung said calmly, and faced with this plan, Commander Bleach had no choice but to agree. "I understand. I'll take a chance and trust you. Besides, after talking with the bald commander, the system gave him a quest. Deal with the yellow-skinned goblin, Lord Gopton. Quest classification normal. Objective annihilate Goblin Lord Gopton. Progress. 0%. Completion reward. Unknown. Note none. Turning to the fat mouse Hamchi, who now looked curious and asked, "Hey, little master, I have a question. Sorry, but I'm all out of money for food." Han Tae-sung immediately shut him down the moment the mouse opened its mouth. This made Hamchi furious. It seemed that in Han Tae-sung's eyes, he had already become nothing more than a bottomless pit for food. "Hey, it's not about food. You think all I care about is eating? Well, you are a glutton." "So what are you curious about?" Han Tae-sung said wearily. Beside him, the pig mouse, having calmed down, asked, "Earlier when you were talking to that shiny bald guy, you were hiding something, weren't you? How did you know? A great spirit of my caliber can notice that much, you know." "Don't you underestimate me," Hamchi said proudly. At that moment, Han Tae-sung began to reveal his intentions. "The truth is, if I reach level 30, I can get a new skill. With that skill, it will be very useful. When I face Gopton, although I can't guarantee a 100% chance of winning." "Then why did you hide the skill?" "Because I don't want to reveal it yet. These are all normal players. If they saw a cheat-like skill like that, it would cause a total uproar, and rumors would spread like wildfire," Han Tae-sung explained calmly. Hearing this, the pig mouse could only sigh. "Humans really have it rough, huh? It's better to have it rough than to live waiting to be stabbed in the back." Han Tae-sung started lecturing the mouse. The sound of their conversation accidentally caught the attention of Uncle Jong Man-bok, who asked, "Oh, Secret, are you done talking with the commander?" "Yes, but what should I do? I feel like my plan is too focused on myself," Han Tae-sung said sheepishly. And it was true. His plan was basically to have the entire camp act as his mob pullers to help him level up as fast as possible. But luckily, Uncle Jong Man-bok didn't seem to mind that much after listening to Han Tae-sung. Hearing that, he just chuckled and said, "Ha, don't worry about it, we're just mooching after all. So just letting us be part of the plan is more than enough for us to be grateful." At this point, the uncle seemed to get a little sleepy and suggested, "Hey, why don't we get a little shut-eye? Aren't you logging out? We've already been playing for 4 hours straight." Hearing this, Han Tae-sung, who was opposite him, glanced at the clock and said, "Ah, yes, the operation is in 2 hours, so I was planning to rest a bit too." "Good. See you later then." After saying this, Jong Man-bok and Ruji logged out of the game. Hamchi, seeing that Han Tae-sung was also about to leave, got a little sad. "Is Master going back to the other world too? How boring. I'll be right back. So use this to go buy some snacks," Han Tae-sung said as he flicked a gold coin to the pig mouse. The moment it saw the money, its attitude changed instantly. "Oh, my stingy little master. What's all this thank you?" And at that very moment, it all clicked in Hamchi's head. His face darkened as he asked, "Wait a minute. Didn't you just say you have no money?" "Of course I was lying. Well, I'm off, hey. Han Tae-sung said before immediately logging out before that guinea pig could nag him any further. Back in reality, after taking off his headset and sitting up from the capsule, Han Tae-sung's entire body felt sore and numb. "I have to go eat," Han Tae-sung mumbled, but he didn't understand why either. Right after that, this guy just flopped down onto the blanket below and gave up on getting food. Forget it. There's no time to call anyone, I'll just get some sleep first. Thinking back, a lot has really happened. My guild was destroyed, and I became a fugitive. Then I met Master and got the debuff Master class, and now I'm fighting to save the Burman territory. I used to be a player driven by revenge and money, but now I'm just purely enjoying the game. Is it because I'm still immature? I want to play again soon. I want to get stronger and enjoy the game freely." As he said this, it seemed the gamer blood in him was stirring again. It made it impossible for him to lie still. "Man, I can't stand it. Before the operation begins, I have to level up. I miss that guinea pig Hamchi too." And just as Han Tae-sung said that, a voice from outside the door called out, catching his attention. "Is Mr. Han Tae-sung home?" Hearing this, Han Tae-sung cautiously crept over, opened the door slowly, and looked out warily, asking, "Who is it?" From what he could see, they looked like employees of some company. And these gentlemen, after seeing Han Tae-sung open the door, said, "Are you Mr. Han Tae-sung? We're here to install a capsule." "A capsule? I never ordered one," Han Tae-sung said in confusion, looking at the boxes behind them. His words also seemed to confuse the employees. "But the address is correct. Is your name Han Tae-sung?" "Yes, it is, but I never ordered this. We don't know the details either, but it has been delivered to you." First please just accept the delivery." "The sender had a special request," the employee said as he handed Han Tae-sung a piece of paper. The moment Han Tae-sung saw that paper, he understood everything. Congratulations, Epic Code 00766. Epic Code 007. That's my class. I heard that hidden classes come with incredible perks, so this was sent from B2. The thought made Han Tae-sung unable to hold back a smile, and then he hurriedly threw the door open to welcome the employees. You all must have had a tough time getting here. What would you like to drink? It's a bit of a mess, but please feel free to come in. We'll just take coffee, the men said amidst the chaos. At the same time, in a corner of the hallway, a handsome, well-dressed young man was on the phone reporting to someone. Yes, Director. The item has been delivered to Mr. Han Tae-sung's house. They are proceeding with the installation now. The person on the other end of the line listened and said, "Good work. Manager Lee?" Hearing this, the young man Lee seemed a bit curious and asked, "But Mr. Han Tae-sung has no connection to you, Director. Why would you gift him a capsule?" Let's see. Perhaps it's because of the hidden class hump. Just consider us colleagues. Back to Han Tae-sung, who now held the remote control in his hand. He still felt like he was dreaming. I've seen this in commercials before. It's a gaming pod modeled after that dog from Genesis. No Chairman Jae-hyung. This is something for the ultimate players. The Capsule 5R2 for GE. This player pod is something a normal player could never afford even if they worked themselves to death. I can't believe something I could never afford is installed in my house now, Han Tae-sung thought as he used the remote to open the pod's door. Just from the air that wafted out, he could already smell money. Giving me an Orgy buy-hip for free? Are they insane? This thing is super expensive even if it's used. Are the perks for a hidden profession really this good? Han Tae-sung muttered as he started feeling it all over, and then he slipped right inside the gaming pod. This is no time to sleep. I'll sleep when I'm dead. I have to try this thing out right now. Han Tae-sung thought as he initiated the login, and right after that, his consciousness connected to the virtual space. Whoa, this feeling. It's definitely completely different from the old-style pods. It's so gentle, wrapping around my whole body, and even though I'm in VR, my mind is still completely clear. Plus, it feels way more real than before. A hot gust of wind and the smell of burning. Wait a minute, the smell of burning. Thinking this, Han Tae-sung was startled by his own senses because the very first thing he saw after logging into the game was the sight of the territory. Burman engulfed in a sea of flames, and the cause of this. It seemed to be a horde of mutated monsters that started attacking the Burman territory while he was logged out. The situation didn't look good at all as the soldiers were continuously being overwhelmed by the monsters. They were being ganged up on and taken down with ease. What is going on here? Han Tae-sung was stunned by the scene before him. He was only offline for a little while and it's already turned into this. And while Han Tae-sung was still wondering what on earth was happening, Hamchi's cry for help rang out nearby. Help the Great Spirit! Hearing this, Han Tae-sung quickly turned around and discovered the pig rat Hamchi being chased by a mutated wolf running for its life. And Hamchi at this moment seemed to have reached its limit. I can't run anymore. Is the Great Spirit's life going to end here? Hamchi sobbed. And just as the wolf was about to chomp down on its butt, Han Tae-sung flew in from the side like a superhero, and he slammed the sharp, four-pronged mace in his hand straight into the wolf's head, causing it to stick its tongue out instantly. After taking care of the wolf, he calmly turned to Hamchi and asked, "Hamchi, are you hurt? You idiot master. What took you so long? I thought I was a goner for sure." Hamchi cried as it launched itself straight at his face, forcing Han Tae-sung to quickly pull the little guy off. Hey, calm down and tell me what in the world happened." Hearing this, the pig rat angrily shouted, "Can't you tell just by looking? The moment you guys went back to your world, the goblins led the mutated creatures and attacked the territory as if they'd been waiting the whole time. And against the overwhelming power of the mutated monsters, and without the help from the otherworlders, the territory was completely helpless." Back to Han Tae-sung. After hearing Hamchi's explanation, he gritted his teeth. Those sons of bitches. They waited for us to log out to attack. What kind of monsters are this smart? As he thought about it, he realized something and quickly asked, "Wait a minute, so out of all the adventurers, I'm the only one here right now?" "Right, that's why this place is a total mess now," the fat rat screamed. But Han Tae-sung, on the other hand, wasn't angry at all. In fact, after hearing what the fat rat said, he felt ecstatic. "Then this is perfect. This way I don't have to worry about what other people think." "Hamchi, I have a mission for you," our protagonist said with a smile, looking at the fat rat with a dangerous glint in his eye. And that look caused the alarm bells in Hamchi's head to go off. Why do I have such a bad feeling about this? Cut to another corner of the territory where 3 soldiers are trying to protect a family behind them. but the current situation was incredibly difficult for them. Damn it, this is tough. I thought everyone had already been evacuated, the black-haired man thought as he glanced at the family behind him, and then he looked back at the goblins and mutated wolves ahead and realized it would be difficult for the people to escape now. It's not just 1 or 2 mutants, there are so many. This is crazy. For now, I'll just have to deal with whatever comes my way. Just as this guy was thinking that, it seemed one goblin couldn't contain its bloodlust any longer and charged straight at him, sword in hand. But in that very instant, as it was leaping through the air, a 4-sided mace flew in from the side, smashing straight into this goblin's face. It sent the creature's jaw flying. The black-haired soldier saw this and stared blankly, not understanding what had happened. And then, before his astonished eyes, Han Tai-sung rushed forward like the wind grabbed his weapon, activated the skill Critical Hit, and served it up to this greenskin. A blow to the mouth sent its teeth and jaw flying in different directions. After finishing off the goblin with an incredibly cool move, Han Tai-sung turned around. He glanced back and instructed everyone, "I've heard the whole situation. I'll handle things here. Quickly get everyone to safety." The soldier heard this and said worriedly, "But we can't just leave everything to a mercenary like you. We'll fight with you." "Thanks for the offer, but I'm the type who prefers to fight alone," Han Tai-sung said calmly. At the same time, he activated 2 of his debuff skills. The first was the Annihilation Field skill, which reduces the enemy's defense and stamina, and the next skill was Total Debilitation. It reduces the enemy's health and mana. As soon as the skill was activated, a highly complex magic circle appeared at Han Tai-sung's feet with all sorts of strange ancient characters floating up from it. And all the monsters within his skill's range were hit with a debuff, causing their stats to drop continuously. Beside the soldiers, after seeing Han Tai-sung use this skill, they immediately understood the situation. I get it. In that case, at least take this. It's nothing special, but it might help a little, he said, tossing Han Tai-sung a belt full of recovery potions. That's more than enough, Han Tai-sung said confidently. As a frontiersman, it's a bit shameless to ask, but we're counting on you, the black-haired soldier said hurriedly, and after that, they quickly began helping the civilians move to the evacuation point. Meanwhile, Han Tai-sung stored the pile of recovery potions in his inventory and thought, as long as it's an NPC who saw it and not a player, it should be fine, right? But just as Han Tai-sung said this, he was startled to realize that a mutated wolf had charged straight at him while he wasn't paying attention. This attack also forced Han Tai-sung to quickly raise his mace to block its sharp fangs. But that wasn't all. While Han Tai-sung was struggling with the wolf, a goblin from the side also quickly raised its weapon and rushed him. Seeing this, Han Tai-sung gritted his teeth, punched the wolf in front of him away, and simultaneously dodged the knife in the hand of the greenskin by a hair's breadth. Look how desperate you are. Seems like annihilation and debilitation are really hurting you guys, huh? And just as Han Tai-sung predicted, the goblin in front of him went mad with pain. It started to let out a terrifying scream and wildly swung the blade in its hand to attack Han Tai-sung, but because a bunch of its stats had been lowered by the debuffs, Han Tai-sung was able to easily parry its simple attacks. He even managed to offer the greenskin some advice while blocking. Your posture is already collapsing. If it hurts that much, you should use this chaos as a chance to run away. Of course, that's if you can run away, Han Tai-sung said as he deliberately stepped back a bit to regain his stance. And once he had a firm footing, with just one hand, Han Tai-sung easily grabbed the goblin's head and slammed it straight into the ground. The impact was so strong it shattered the floor into pieces, and after a few flashy moves against this goblin, Han Tai-sung had to admit the performance of the new game capsule. As expected, an expensive game capsule is on a whole other level. The enemy's movements are much clearer now, although before this, thanks to my master's training, my reflexes had already gotten much better. But now, with the help of this new game capsule, I can dodge any attack. So this is why those rich guys are so strong for no reason. They must be using high-end stuff like this, huh? Han Tai-sung thought, as he started to slaughter the remaining monsters. And with just 3 strikes, he sent 2 wolves and 1 goblin to their graves instantly. This was the triple critical hit. And thanks to the contributions from these monsters, Tai-sung had reached level 22, but Han Tai-sung still wasn't very satisfied with his current speed. I've killed quite a few up to this point. But I'm only level 22, I guess leveling gets a lot harder after level 20. I don't have time for this, Han Tai-sung thought while looking at the system window. And at that exact moment, Hamchi the fat mouse he had sent on some mission, back to his damn master. The little guy screamed desperately as if he were being chased by something horrible. And just as I predicted, behind the fat mouse were dozens of monsters. The little guy was crying while running straight towards Han Tae-sung. "Is this enough for you yet? After seeing Hamchi pull so many monsters?" He smiled brightly. "So what if it's hard to level up? If you want to solve it, you just have to gather a ton of monsters." As Han Tae-sung spoke, he began to use his debuff skill to pull the whole horde of monsters into a weakened zone. And while Han Tae-sung was excitedly fighting and leveling up, the Goblin Lord Gordon also sensed his presence. "Ho ho ho, so a cowardly outlander has returned, and he's even hopping around all excited. Just as I thought, that one is indeed a threat. If he gets any stronger than he is now, he'll become a considerable danger. He's truly different from these worthless ones." Gordon said this as he stepped on some old man. Across from him, this yellow skin was Commander Bleach, but looking at his current state, it seemed he wasn't doing too well. His whole body began to tremble from his wounds. But the Goblin Lord's mumbled words also helped Commander Bleach figure a few things out. An outlander coward. Could it be that Sir Siegfried has returned? In that case, I have to buy him time to get stronger. I absolutely cannot let this guy leave here. With this thought, Bleach tightened his grip on his sword and shouted, "Where do you think you're going? Your opponent is me, you cowardly fiend. I will defeat you and rescue the Lord." Across from him, after hearing the bald commander's words, Gordon began to laugh with interest. Cowardly, the one who couldn't even properly protect his own monarch, dares to call me a coward. Come on and try saving him. Although I don't know how long you or your monarch can last. As Gordon spoke, he placed the blade of his axe right against the Lord's neck, making him tremble violently in fear, while Commander Bleach prayed silently in his heart. "I can't hold on much longer. You have to hurry, Siegfried." Back to about 30 minutes ago, as soon as the fat mouse Hamchi heard Han Tae-sung's plan, he had hurriedly refused. "What? No way, I'm a great spirit, not bait. Besides, what if I'm luring them and get caught?" Hamchi yelled angrily, but in the face of this anger, Han Tae-sung just calmly explained it to him. "But there's no other way. Do you want your master to be some third-rate losing adventurer who only knows how to run away? Besides, if we run away, all the people here will die." Don't drag me into my master's fight," Hamchi said in a panic. "I'm not fighting alone. We are fighting together. I'm counting on you. Great Spirit Hamchi," Han Tae-sung said, holding his fist out towards the fat mouse. Seeing this, Hamchi could only sigh, touch his tiny fist to Han Tae-sung's, and say, "I know. But later, you'd better prepare all kinds of nuts for me." "Of course," Han Tae-sung said cheerfully. Back to the present. The fat mouse was in an extremely sulky state. His cheeks were puffed out, looking incredibly cute. And this attitude from the fat mouse made Han Tae-sung say earnestly, "I already said I was sorry." Hamchi, sitting on his head, was still angry after hearing that. "I'm the one who got chased half to death. I'm never going to be gaslighted by you, master, ever again." All right, the fat mouse pouted. "I know my Hamchi has been through a lot. But you know we didn't have enough time. The danger's over now. Just drop it. Do you have any idea it was thanks to me that we even caught those things?" Hamchi yelled. Back to Han Tae-sung. He calmly took out a recovery potion and asked, How is that thing I asked you about earlier going?" "You mean the Goblin Lord? I didn't see him directly, but I found a suspicious place. While I was running my butt off gathering those mutants and goblins, I saw Berman Castle. And then I sensed a horrifyingly evil energy coming from inside the castle, even though I couldn't see inside that oppressive energy. Must belong to that Goblin Lord." Hearing the fat mouse's words, Han Tae-sung thought for a moment. As the king of goblins, he took the castle first. Normally, if they were attacked, someone in a high position like a lord would evacuate first. But what is this uneasy feeling? It's weird. I don't see Commander Bridge anywhere. Thinking this, Han Tae-sung felt a sense of urgency and said, "First things first, we need to get a move on." "We're leaving right now?" Hamchi asked quickly. "Yeah, it's going to be dangerous, so you should stay here, Hamchi. I'll go get it done and be right back." The fat rat was about to stay behind as told, but then he saw the monster corpses nearby seemingly twitch and got so terrified that he scrambled after Han Tae-sung, shouting, "Hey, wait for me, master, I'm coming with you!" And not long after, the master and servant duo arrived at the city of Berman. "So that's Berman. It's bigger than I thought," Han Tae-sung muttered to himself. And just as Hamji had said, even from a great distance, Han Tae-sung could sense it with perfect clarity. "I can definitely feel a sinister mana coming from inside the city. If I just walk in, I could be in danger." At this thought, Han Tae-sung glanced back at the fat rat trotting along behind him. "Why are you still following me?" he asked. I told you it's dangerous, so you shouldn't have come." Hearing this from the great Han Tae-sung, Hamchi put on a very sincere expression and said, "Scared? No, that's not it. It's just that I'm worried. And about letting you go to such a dangerous place all by yourself, master." "Oh, I'm so touched I could cry," Han Tae-sung said sarcastically, turning to Hamji, who was struggling to haul his chubby body onto his shoulder. "So, do you have a battle plan or what?" "Battle plan?" Han Tae-sung asked. Hamji sighed and replied, "Even if your strong master were up against the Goblin Lord, shouldn't we have a plan for when we're attacked?" You have a point, but we don't have time. Besides, sometimes charging in without a plan is the best plan." As he said this, Han Tae-sung crouched into a jumping stance, and then he shot toward the city gate like an arrow, terrifying the fat rat clinging to this madman. And with that incredible speed, Han Tae-sung used his own body to smash right through the gate, landing in a super cool pose. The only one suffering was our poor Hamji, who was sore all over from that crazy ride. "You insane master, do you even plan on getting out of here alive?" Hamji yelled, but before he could get another word out, Han Tae-sung, who was ahead, gestured for silence and said, "Quiet, that's Sir Bridge." Following his gaze, Bridge was leaning against a pillar by the wall. Seeing Han Tae-sung, the commander seemed a bit relieved. Then he spoke, "The one who made such a ruckus charging in. Of course it was you." When Han Tae-sung saw the commander, he rushed over and noticed one of the man's arms was gone. He immediately asked, "Sir Bridge, your arm. And why are you still here? Why didn't you evacuate?" In response to his question, Bridge answered calmly, "I may be weak, but I am still a knight. And as a knight, it is my duty to protect my lord." Hearing him say that, Han Tae-sung gritted his teeth. Damn it, he thought. That means the lord isn't safe either. And as this thought crossed his mind, a voice echoed from behind him, grabbing his attention. "So it's you, the human who wiped out my army. You're certainly stronger than the other humans I've faced so far. I suppose I understand now why that other human managed to hold out for so long." Godden spoke as he advanced on Han Tae-sung, holding Commander Bridge's severed arm in his hand. Across from him, Han Tae-sung heard that Commander Bridge had put up a desperate fight, which made him wonder. "Held out?" The Goblin King pointed his axe right at Han Tae-sung's face and sneered, "Ha, don't play dumb, human. You think I don't know to prepare to fight me? You had the people of Burman sacrifice themselves to buy you time to get stronger, didn't you? In the end, they waited for you. And for what? To die like fools." The more he spoke, the darker Han Tae-sung's expression became. It grew darker and darker until even at a glance you could see it. The look in Han Tae-sung's eyes was now just like that of a rabid dog about to attack. Commander Bridge at his side saw it too. Fearing Han Tae-sung would be consumed by rage, he quickly advised, "Don't listen to him, Siegfried. We simply did what we had to do." But unfortunately, it seemed Han Tae-sung wasn't listening. Instead, he stared coldly ahead and asked, "Sir Bridge, the unconscious person behind that goblin, that's the Lord, isn't it?" "Please wait just a moment," Han Tae-sung said, gripping his weapon tightly as he slowly stepped forward. His action startled Bridge. "Siegfried, don't let him provoke you." Turning back to the Goblin King, Godden, upon seeing Han Tae-sung approach, let out an amused laugh. "Heh, putting away your weapon, are you? Lost your mind from guilt, have you? All right then. I'll send you to join that lowly human trash." As he said that, he brought his axe back, preparing for a super powerful swing. At that moment, Han Tae-sung, who was opposite him, also used the skill Speed Control. This is a debuff skill that reduces the enemy's movement speed, attack speed, and casting speed. And with the Goblin King afflicted by a series of these negative effects, Han Tae-sung was able to easily dodge its axe swing while closing in on the Lord behind it. The Goblin King still didn't understand what had just happened. Did I just lose track of his movements? Was that just a fluke? Or was it an item? He wondered as he glanced at Han Tae-sung, and what met his eyes was the boy's incredibly dangerous gaze. "Don't you dare use those filthy hands to touch Bleach's arm again," Han Tae-sung said in a commanding tone. This infuriated the Goblin King. "Don't you dare give me orders." He roared in fury and charged straight at Han Tae-sung. Faced with an attack like this, Han Tae-sung calmly swung his leg and kicked the yellow-skinned creature right in the chin. It sent him flying. But thanks to that kick from Han Tae-sung, the Goblin King finally realized the problem. So it wasn't a fluke. He definitely did something. Did he get faster? No, that's not it. It's my body. It's gotten slower. This filthy feeling, it's like countless chains are wrapped around my body, restricting my movements. "What in the world did you do?" The Goblin King screamed furiously at Han Tae-sung. He didn't pay much attention to the yellow-skinned goblin's words, but this speed control skill really made Han Tae-sung quite satisfied. Speed control is better than I thought, huh? Judging by his reaction, it's definitely effective. With that in mind, Han Tae-sung returned the arm to Bleach and said, "This arm belongs to you, Sir Bleach, correct? Even if it can't be reattached, we can't let it fall into enemy hands. It's thanks to you, Sir Bleach, and everyone else holding out that I was able to get stronger. For now, just leave everything to me. Hamchi, stop hiding, get out here and lead these two away from here." I get it," the fat rat said hurriedly. After that, he tried to use his small body to drag the Lord away. But his actions were a bit rough, which made Bleach, who was beside him, say worriedly, "Thank you for your help. But could you please be a little more gentle with the Lord? Stop talking nonsense and hurry up," Hamchi yelled. Turning back to Han Tae-sung after taking care of Bleach's group, he let out a soft sigh. The urgent matter is dealt with for now. All that's left is the Goblin Lord, Han Tae-sung said, glancing at the goblin. And as for the goblin, after seeing his prey escape, he was absolutely furious. "Wasn't it enough to look down on me with some weird item? Now you dare to steal my spoils of war, too. I'll rip you limb from limb before I kill you. You damn human," Godin said, his voice filled with killing intent. But his appearance still wasn't enough to frighten Han Tae-sung. "All right, now that there are no more distractions, let the real game begin," Han Tae-sung mumbled. And after that, the battle between the two officially began. The one who attacked first was still the Goblin King. He began to swing the giant axe in his hand straight towards Han Tae-sung. His swing was so powerful it created a streak of pale orange light, but unfortunately for him, Han Tae-sung seemed to have read his movements. The moment he swung the axe, Han Tae-sung automatically leaned to one side to dodge, and right after that, he used the pipe in his hand to give him 3 hits to the body. Each blow made Godin's jaw drop from the pain, but apparently feeling humiliated by being hit repeatedly, he gritted his teeth and endured the pain. Then he swung the axe in his hand with all his might, sending Han Tae-sung flying towards the stairs on the opposite side. Because he had managed to raise his arm in time to block the blow, he hadn't taken much damage. However, the fact that this goblin had started to hit him made him realize this was getting a bit difficult. Damn it. Is he keeping up with the speed of my speed control skill? It's true, a boss is always hard to fight no matter how high your base stats are, Han Tae-sung thought to himself. Meanwhile, the Goblin King Godin, after landing a hit on Han Tae-sung, laughed smugly. "Ha ha, look how miserable you are. Hey, human, where'd that arrogant attitude of yours from before go? You think you can beat me with those pathetic little tricks? You really underestimate me. I won't grant you an easy death. I'll cut off all your limbs, drag you to the altar as a sacrifice for the war god, and then I'll chop your head into 1,000 pieces, blah blah blah." And while this goblin was still rambling on about his post-victory plans, Han Tae-sung, on the other hand, had begun to silently formulate a plan of his own. This is starting to get on my nerves, but he's right. The speed control skill has its limits. It's a support skill, not an offensive one. And on top of that, I don't have enough mana to use anything else. He must know that otherwise I would have used that skill already. Should I use it now? No, I'll wait for the right moment. After deciding, Han Tae-sung charged forward to attack once again, and the Goblin King laughed in amusement. "Ha, so you've finally given up resisting, have you? Or is this just another one of your tricks?" he said, swinging his giant axe towards Han Tae-sung. Simultaneously, Han Tae-sung swung his mace to meet the blow, and the result was... The moment the two weapons clashed, they created a horrific sound. Shockwaves blasted outwards, causing the ground and rocks to explode. The recoil from the blow sent a violent tremor through Han Tae-sung's arm, but the Goblin King opposite him seemed completely unaffected. In fact, at that moment, he was still smiling as he praised Han Tae-sung. "Haha, impressive. Go on, see if you can figure out a way to fight back. You can't win. Give up this pointless struggle." He taunted as he relentlessly brought his axe down on Han Tae-sung, forcing our protagonist to struggle just to parry the blows. But despite the difficulty, Han Tae-sung was holding his ground. This began to infuriate Gopton. "You ignorant bastard!" the Goblin King roared. And then, he used his free left arm to grab Han Tae-sung by the neck and threw him with immense force, sending him flying backward like a cannonball with a cry of pain. Before Han Tae-sung could even get back on his feet, Gopton closed the distance, planted a foot squarely on his stomach, and said, "You know something. Since ancient times, humans have looked down on goblins as an inferior race. And I'll admit goblins are not a superior species. But I will change that someday. We will rule this world and stand above all other living beings. That is the burden that weighs upon the shoulders of the Goblin Kings generation after generation. That is my ideal." Gopdon declared his dream with a smile, only to be met with a scornful laugh from Han Tae-sung. "What a load of crap. You know why. After all these generations of kings, your kind are still nothing more than lapdogs for humans. It's because you're nothing but a pathetic, filthy, disgusting race. As for the Goblin King," Han Tae-sung's words made his eyes turn bloodshot with fury. He clenched his jaw, his face contorted with murderous intent. And while the king was still seething with rage, Han Tae-sung, pinned beneath him, had covertly activated some kind of skill. He continued to taunt him, buying time for the skill to take effect. "You should go home and take a bath. You stink," Han Tae-sung advised with mock sincerity. At this point, Gopdon was so enraged that he gripped his weapon tightly. "Are those your last words? Die, you bastard!" Gopdon roared, raising his axe to deliver the final blow. Just then, Han Tae-sung thought, "Now deactivate speed control." The sudden loss of the skill's suppression made the goblin's swing suddenly faster and more powerful. "My body. It feels so light. What did he just do? I can't pull my weapon out," Gopdon thought, struggling to pull his axe, now wedged deep in a rock. It was then that he finally realized. Han Tae-sung had been aiming for his weapon all along. Back with Han Tae-sung, while the goblin was stuck with his weapon, he unleashed a merciless combo with his mace. He battered the goblin from all sides, leaving it no room to defend. It seemed that even hitting it with a mace wasn't enough, so he followed up by landing a direct blow on the goblin's chin, making it let out an unholy scream. And just as Han Tae-sung was about to deliver the final blow to finish the goblin off for good, the Goblin King suddenly put 2 fingers in his mouth and let out a sharp whistle. Before Han Tae-sung could even figure out what Gopdon was planning, he was sent flying by the massive body of a mutated tiger. The force of the impact even created a visible shockwave in the air, throwing Han Tae-sung back several meters. The Goblin King, Gordon, also slowly approached the tiger, saying, "Tisk, tisk. I don't want to destroy the entire castle, but this is quite a surprise, that you could actually push me this far. Every party has to end sometime. The true power of a Goblin King is mind control. I'll show you the power of the mutated tiger I've spent so long studying," Gordon said. As he began to climb onto the body of this giant tiger, he used his manipulation skill on it, and it seems this skill forcibly made the tiger unleash power beyond its normal capabilities. Right after Gordon used it, the giant tiger's whole body grew a size larger. Just looking at that pile of muscles is enough to make your scalp tingle. And after seeing the mutated tiger go berserk, Gordon commanded, "Go on, chew his head off." At this goblin's command, the mutated tiger immediately charged straight towards Han Tae-sung and unleashed a terrifying blow. Before this attack, the stone floor was no different from a piece of paper. Although Han Tae-sung was lucky enough to dodge it, he was still hit by the shockwave from this earth-shattering blow. He was pushed back against the wall. "Ha ha ha! You should feel honored to be killed by the great Goblin King and to be buried in such a beautiful castle," Gordon said joyfully. But before he could celebrate for more than a few seconds, Han Tae-sung on the opposite side spoke coldly. "No, you're the one who's going to die. A moment ago you called me a worthless hunting dog, right? I'm not a worthless hunting dog. I am the master of buffs," Han Tae-sung said as he began to activate his game-breaking skill, Disdain for the Strong. And right after this skill was activated, the system began to check the levels of both. After checking and seeing that Gordon was level 50 higher than Han Tae-sung's level 30, the system issued a notification. Damage you deal to Gordon increases. Damage you take will decrease. And then before the Goblin King's fearful eyes, Han Tae-sung unleashed a powerful critical blow on him and the tiger beneath him. Another long day comes to an end. With the death of the Goblin Lord, the mind control over the other monsters was broken. The remnants were wiped out by the remaining players. Among all those who remained, the lightly injured were gathered to rebuild the territory once again. As for Han Tae-sung himself, he was resting in a barracks tent, chugging health potions like they were plain water. "Finally, it feels like I'm truly living. A potion that can bring someone back from the brink of death? It's amazing. You can't experience things like this in the real world," Han Tae-sung said nonchalantly, not noticing the judging glances from a few people nearby. And then he also recalled what had happened. Even so, he still couldn't believe that he had defeated such a powerful Goblin Lord all by himself. "If I didn't have enough mana to use Disdain for the Strong back then, I would have been the one to die for sure." Not quite, but the greater the level difference, the more effective it is. 4. Disdain for the strong increases damage dealt to opponents with a higher level than yourself, and reduces damage received. It lasts for 1 minute with a 12-hour cooldown. Among all the buff skills I've learned so far, this one is truly brokenly overpowered. However, the cooldown is very long, so I have to use it carefully. Plus, I can't hide the skill while I'm fighting. Han Tae-sung thought to himself, and just at that moment, Commander Bleach's voice rang out beside him. "Can we talk outside for a moment?" Hearing this, Han Tae-sung was a little startled, then looked up at the bald commander and greeted him. "Commander Bleach, seeing you like this, you must be fine, full of vitality." Turning towards Han Tae-sung after seeing the commander come out, he felt a little worried and said, "Are you really okay, sir? Why don't you rest a little longer? Ha ha ha, it gets stuffy staying in the tent. Besides, I just received an order from the Lord to bring you to the castle. Let's talk on the way there," Bleach said with a smile. Turning to Han Tae-sung, he only now remembered the mighty Lord and asked, "Come to think of it, the Lord was also injured, right? Is he okay now? If you had arrived a little later, he would have been in real danger. But he's being treated now and is doing much better. Contrary to his appearance, he's known for being a very sturdy general." Hearing that, Han Tae-sung felt a bit concerned. It was a bit awkward to bring this up, but it seems he's going to be very busy from now on, Han Tae-sung thought to himself, and then he also noticed Bleach's severed arm and said, "Sir, Bleach, I'm sorry. If I had arrived sooner, you wouldn't have lost your arm." Bleach, who was up ahead, was a little surprised to hear him say that, but he immediately smiled and said, "Don't you worry about that. I should be the one thanking you. If it weren't for you, we would have lost this land for good. This arm is just a small price to pay to protect our territory. Sir Bleach is truly a real knight." "That's enough flattery. Let's get going. Everyone is waiting for you," Bleach said with a smile, and just like that, the two of them quickly made their way to the castle to meet the Lord. But when Han Tae-sung saw the old Lord, he got the feeling that the old man could ascend to the heavens at any moment. "Oh my. So you're the one who saved our land. I am Baron Vyman, Lord of the Burman territory," he said with a trembling voice. Han Tae-sung, who was standing opposite him, quickly introduced himself. "My name is Christopher, sir." "What a strong name like that of a hero. But this is no time for such talk. Thank you for saving this land. Please accept this old man's bow." As he spoke, Vyman began to kneel, and this action made Han Tae-sung flustered. "Sir, you don't have to do that," he said, turning to Vyman. He was about to offer a few more words of thanks when suddenly his back let out a few alarming cracks. The next moment, the old man was flat on the ground, crying out, "Ah!" This made the nearby soldiers rush over, asking, "Baron, are you all right?" "Oh, geez, I knew this would happen." "Oh, heavens, I'm dying!" Vyman cried out pitifully. At that moment, Han Tae-sung, who had witnessed everything, glanced at the bald-headed commander and asked, He used to be a great general, right?" Hearing this, Bleach could only remain silent. Back to the story, once his back had stabilized a bit, Vyman coughed a few times and spoke. "To think I'd let you see me in such a pathetic state. My sincerest apologies, my body hasn't fully recovered yet. In any case, thank you once again." You don't have to do that, sir. I was hired as a mercenary after all. I was just here to help. You're giving me too much credit," Han Tae-sung said hastily. "It doesn't matter in what capacity you helped us. What matters is that you were willing to risk your life to protect this land. If it weren't for you, this peaceful and beautiful land would have fallen into the hands of those wicked goblins. But that's enough talk. Follow me. I have a gift I want to give you." Hearing there was a gift, Han Tae-sung's eyes lit up like car headlights. This is it. This is it. The mission reward. Since the difficulty was way too high for my level, this reward must be amazing. Han Tae-sung thought happily to himself as he followed the old man. And as he followed the Lord inside, it was only then that Han Tae-sung had the time to really observe the castle. "This is the place we rested at after fighting the Goblin Lord, isn't it? I didn't realize it was so spacious back then. It's even bigger than I thought. It looks just like a shrine." And while Han Tae-sung was thinking this, Wyman, who was up ahead, opened a chest and said, "This is the treasury created by my ancestors who loved to collect antiques. However, most of it has been lost or sold off. There are almost no treasures left in here, but there is still one thing that can be called a true treasure. Take it," he said as he handed Han Tae-sung a small box. And as soon as Han Tae-sung opened it, a stream of golden light flew out from inside the box, forming a piece of paper with strange characters on it. "This is a voucher from the Mercedes workshop," Han Tae-sung muttered, looking at the paper floating before him. Throughout the long history of the continent of Newbert, it was a world where magic, Alchemy and metallurgy greatly flourished, and over thousands of years those techniques continued to develop, becoming so closely intertwined that the boundaries between them blurred, and a phenomenon of fusion between the techniques emerged. That crystallization became known as an artifact, a combination of magic alchemy and metallurgy. This led to the emergence of mega-scale workshops dedicated solely to these artifacts. Autonica with its technological power, Bimarian with its destructive power, and the ultimate Mercedes. People regarded these three workshops as the best and called them the three great houses of the continent. Among them, the Mercedes workshop voucher was highly prized. And this was the reward for the Slay the Goblin Lord quest. A Mercedes workshop voucher for a 12-time enhancement with a 100% success rate. An official enhancement voucher provided by the Mercedes workshop allows any artifact to be enhanced 12 consecutive times with a 100% success rate with no level restriction. Type consumable coupon. Value 1,000 gold. And that was all the information on this incredible voucher. After reading it, Han Ta-sung's jaw dropped as wide as it could go. A plus 12 enhancement scroll from the Mercedes workshop with a 100% success rate. A scroll of this level was truly priceless. And while he was still marveling at the scroll, Lord Wyman explained its origin. 700 years ago, when the Mercedes workshop first opened, it ran into financial difficulties because it was new. And as a desperate measure, they sold those discount vouchers for only 1,000 gold, but back then 1,000 gold was still too much to invest in a new workshop. At that time, Mercedes was nothing more than a money pit, but my ancestor Count Graham, who decided to help Mercedes, was ignored by everyone. I don't know if he foresaw the future or simply liked collecting knickknacks, but it turned out to be the best investment. In any case, it seems that scroll has finally found its owner. Hearing this, Han Tae-sung composed himself and explained, This is too much. Right now this thing must be worth 10 million gold. Hearing this, Lord Vyman sighed and said, It was just an ownerless item. Originally we intended to give it to a descendant with the makings of a strong leader, but there was no one. My son is the most outstanding descendant, but even he. The old man didn't say any more, but that was enough for Han Ta-sung to guess the rest. I don't even need to look to know, Han Ta-sung thought to himself. Then Lord Wyman made a request. I have a request. Would you be willing to accept it? A request, Han Ta-sung wondered. To be honest, when I briefly regained consciousness, it seemed like someone was dragging me out, and at that moment, I saw your strong and determined eyes. I'm certain you will become a hero who will shake these 6 lands. Ha ha, you're embarrassing me with such praise, Han Tae-sung said shyly. Turning to Vyman, he now officially stated his request. Then in the future, if you become a hero, will you help my son? Just as my ancestor did, I also want to invest in a hero like you. I may not know much, but I recognize bravery and courage. Hearing this, Han Tae-sung's mind was in a whirl. But the offer was too good, so he couldn't possibly refuse. Since you've put it that way, I can't refuse. Rest assured, my lord, I will definitely help your son. And with Han Tae-sung agreeing to this request, the system displayed a notification. Quest A, promise to Lord Vyman. Quest Classification General. Requirement. Once you reach the master level or higher, 1. Repay your debt of gratitude to the Burman territory for today's help. Requirement 2. Go to the capital and establish a relationship with Lord Vyman's son. Progress 0%. Completion rewards, fame, and unknown rewards. Additional note. The higher the quest taker's level, the more fame will increase. And after making his promise to Lord Vyman, Han Tae-sung left the castle immediately. At that moment, he looked at the divine scroll in his hand and wondered to himself, what should I use this for? If I auction it off, I could make at least several hundred million. With that money, I could pay off all my debts and even buy my mom a mansion. But if Master Diot found out, he'd surely get angry and say something like this. You idiot, I feel like hitting you. Why can't you look at the bigger picture? Just imagining his master's angry face, Han Tae-sung didn't want to think about what would happen next. Well, I'll think about it later. Investing in myself is always the right choice. Once I become skilled, I won't have to worry about a lack of money anymore. As Han Tae-sung thought this, he tucked the scroll into his inventory. Then he remembered the fat mouse and muttered, Where's Hamchi anyway? I haven't seen him all day. I hope he's not up to anything weird. And contrary to Han Tae-sung's hopes at that very moment, at a certain log cabin, the pig mouse Hamchi was fooling around. All right, I'm exhausted, Hamchi said, swaying his body and even shaking his butt. He was doing all of this for the other players to see. Haha, this squirrel is so cute. My daughter used to do cute things like this when she was little. Hearing this, Hamchi warned them, "Let me tell you, I'm not dancing for free. I know. You'll get a reward, okay? Here, have some food," the tough-looking man said as he casually tossed him some kind of nut. Seeing this, the fat mouse happily said, "Thanks. I know a few other tricks, too. Want to see me impersonate my idiot owner?" In short, just for a bit of food, Hamji sold its dignity and even sold out its owner, Han Tae-sung. But it had no idea. Every word it had just said had been overheard by Han Tae-sung. Right now, Han Tae-sung's face had darkened as he said, "Idiot owner, huh?" And as soon as he spoke, the fat rat instantly froze solid. Then Han Tae-sung grabbed this pig rat and started nagging. "So you're the one pulling these silly stunts around here. Are you a streamer? You'd better watch your words next time," Han Tae-sung said angrily, but at his words, Hamchi was still unrepentant. It even shrieked angrily at Han Tae-sung, "You don't understand how your master feels. When they won't give you snacks. If you're not going to give me food, then don't bother me." Hearing this, Han Tae-sung asked quizzically, "I thought you only ate rocks." "I only need those when I run out of energy," Hamchi said. And while this master and pet were arguing, old man Gangman Bok next door spoke up, "Who's this? Isn't it Six Freeze? Where have you been? We've been looking all over for you." I had some business at the castle," Han Tae-sung said calmly, turning towards Gangman Bok. The old man then quickly said, "Sit down. You seem to be a busy man, huh? Have you collected your quest reward yet?" Only then did Han Tae-sung realize he still hadn't collected his reward and said, "That's right. I was just about to go get it. I've lived here for a long time, but I've never seen a reward this large before. If that coward Thompson who ran away, I knew how big the reward was, he'd be green with envy, haha," the old man said with a bright smile, but his smile made Han Tae-sung feel a bit uneasy. I'd better not mention the discount coupon. That would just make him even more excited. And as Han Tae-sung thought this, old man Jericho appeared behind them and asked, "Secret, you're here, Mr. Jericho. I'm glad you're safe," Han Tae-sung said as he turned towards Jericho. The reason he came to this place was also to give the reward to Han Tae-sung. After hearing Han Tae-sung, he replied, "Well, it's thanks to you all that I'm safe. Here is your reward. The repair costs completely emptied my pockets, but I still managed to take care of it. Your reward is 5,000 gold coins." "My condolences," Han Tae-sung said awkwardly as he took the pile of gold coins. Just then, old man Jericho leaned into his ear and whispered, "You went to the castle for the side reward, didn't you? But you didn't tell the others. Your source of information is really good," Han Tae-sung said, embarrassed. Then, thinking of something, he tossed the bag of money aside and asked Mr. Jericho, "Can I ask you something? When I went to the castle, I couldn't find the Goblin King's corpse anywhere. Do you know where it was taken?" At Jericho's side, hearing his question, he handed our main character a glass of water and said, "About that corpse. I heard it was put by Lake Veerman. The Lord hung it up to make an example for those who intend to escape. The dismembered corpse is very gruesome. I heard them describing it this morning. It was enough to make my hair stand on end." And the old man's words made Han Tae-sung break into a cold sweat. He really is a tough old fox. Lord Veerman is more ruthless than I thought. But my work here is done anyway. My level has also reached 30. Should I leave the Veerman territory now? Even though I was only here for a short time, I've learned so many new things. Master must have known that when he sent me here. In any case, thank you, Master," Han Tae-sung thought with a smile. But suddenly, at that moment, a loud shout echoed from outside. "Disciple, I did it!" The voice seemed to belong to some swordsman, and it was so loud it felt like it made Han Tae-sung's ears go deaf. And after hearing some madman yelling outside, old man Jericho's face soured and he said, "What the hell was that?" It nearly burst my eardrums. What drunk bastard dares to shout nonsense at this hour? It's probably just some nobody, Han Tae-sung said, annoyed, but right after that, Han Tae-sung thought about the voice he had just heard. Wait a minute, that hoarse and carefree tone, that voice, calling someone disciple. Could it be Master? The scene changes to outside the tavern. Because of the recent shout, everyone started to gather outside to see what kind of lunatic was daring to yell so loudly. And the appearance of the voice's owner truly got everyone talking. Wow, that man is huge. I've never seen anyone with such a high level. Seeing them gossiping like that, Han Tae-sung on the other side hurriedly squeezed his way outside to see. "Hey, let me through," he said, trying his best to push to the front. And then he finally saw the owner of that booming voice, and he was a bit surprised. "What? That's not Master." From his point of view, the owner of the voice was an old man, an incredibly large swordsman with a scar over his left eye. At that moment he looked straight at Han Tae-sung and said with a wide smile, "At last we meet my disciple." The entire crowd immediately turned to look at Han Tae-sung. He himself was stunned, pointing at himself and asking, "Me? That's right. Who else would it be but you? Back to Hamchi now." He glanced worriedly towards his master and asked, "Hey, is that old man the master you're always talking about? He looks really intimidating." I don't know him," Han Tae-sung said as he activated the ancient rune's vision skill, and right after, information about the large old man appeared in his eyes. BTG type, NPC. Race human, level 361. Title Sword King of the 5 Celestial Stars. Back to Peterger it seems that now. He noticed Han Tae-sung reading his status and said with a grin, "Heh heh. Do you know who I am now, son? Allow me to introduce myself. I am one of the 5 Celestial Stars, a single man with a single sword who can cleave the world in two. I am Peterger," he said lightly, swinging the sword in his hand. And with just that one swing, it created a terrifying blast of wind pressure, causing the nearby rookies to run for their lives, afraid of getting caught in the crossfire. Han Tae-sung, too, had heard of this old man's title before. I've heard of his reputation. The 5 Celestial Stars is a name representing 5 stars. In the skies of the New York continent, it's used as a title for masters who have reached the absolute pinnacle in their field. Who would have thought I'd meet such an esteemed person? In a remote and desolate place like this? But wait a minute. I remember now. I also met my master in a forest that no one ever visits. I can't believe sparsely populated areas are the perfect places to run into these ridiculously powerful people, Han Tae-sung thought to himself. And at that very moment, the old man Peterger appeared before Han Tae-sung as if he'd teleported and asked, "Hey son, do you want to become my disciple and learn from me?" The old man's sudden appearance startled Han Tae-sung, making him step back. "Wait a minute. This is all too sudden. Why are you suddenly calling me your disciple?" "Ha, isn't it obvious? I call you my disciple, so you are my disciple." Then he looked at the shabby outfit Han Tae-sung was wearing and said with a laugh, "Ah, I see. You're just a rookie, so you don't understand much about this world. You don't understand what the title 5 Celestial Stars and Master Swordsman means, do you?" "Haha, let me explain it to you," Peterger said with a wide smile. But before he could explain, Han Tae-sung spoke up. "I understand completely. I know about the 5 Celestial Stars, the 5 great stars of the continent, the 5 Masters. I know exactly how strong they are. You know that much, do you?" "Then why are you reacting like this?" Peterger said, annoyed. Han Tae-sung's calm demeanor was completely outside of his expectations. Normally, Han Tae-sung should have been so overjoyed he'd go crazy, immediately kneeling down to accept him as his master. Back to Han Tae-sung, he calmly said, "I'm sorry, but you're too late. I have already taken someone else as my master. So what?" "So what if you have?" "Just forget about him and come with me." Bethel picked his nose as he spoke. From his demeanor, it was clear this old man couldn't care less whether Han Tae-sung had taken a master or not. And his attitude was starting to infuriate Han Tae-sung, who retorted, "You? Don't even dream of it. My master is much stronger than you. I've learned many incredibly powerful techniques from him." Across from him, Bethel broke into a bit of a sweat and asked, "Is your master a Samjan?" Author's note. Samjan is a term referring to the 3 most powerful entities akin to gods. Now back to the story. Han Tae-sung confidently declared to the old man before him, "No, he's even stronger than that." And this declaration from Han Tae-sung made the old man, Bethel, a little curious. Stronger than a Samjan? I'm not entirely sure, but probably. He says he's invincible." Turning to Bethel, he now looked truly dumbfounded and muttered, "Invincible, ha? Invincible? Ha, kid, you've got that a bit wrong. I am the one who is truly invincible," the old man said, releasing an intense aura that blew everything away as if to assert his own power. And before this overwhelming presence, Han Tae-sung was thrown to the ground, while the fat mouse Hamchi had fainted ages ago. Just then, after calming down a bit, Bethel seemed to have a change of heart, saying, "You seem a bit arrogant, but I can see you greatly respect your master, so I won't force you to be my disciple anymore. But I can't go home empty-handed now, can I? So let's make a deal. My future disciple." And at the old man's proposal, it triggered a mission. Emergency quest. Win the deal with Bethel, one of the 5 heavenly stars. If you lose the deal, you must become Bethel's disciple. A little about the past of Bethel, one of the 5 heavenly stars. This is what Bethel looked like at 26 years old. From a young age, he walked the path of the strong. With a sword in hand and after countless years of relentless effort, the results of his many years of grueling, arduous training finally paid off. Finally, upon turning 120, Bethel achieved the master level he had always longed for. However, deep inside his heart, Bethel felt empty instead of happy. At that time, he decided to leave the forest where he trained and began to travel. I wondered, what is this emptiness? I've achieved what I wanted. So why do I feel so dissatisfied? Maybe it's just a phase, Bethel told himself. And at that same moment, he noticed a master and student training by the river. Relax your shoulders and focus. Is this how you plan to become the strongest swordsman? The master spoke as he used a stick in his hand to adjust his student's posture. And the moment he saw this, Betagil realized something. That's right. It was that even the most perfect skills would become meaningless once he died. I need a disciple to inherit my transcendent skills. And so Betagil began his journey across the continent to find a successor, but things didn't go very smoothly. Every young person he encountered didn't meet the standards he had set, like this blonde-haired young man, for example. He was a good mana user but lacked combat skills. Or this scrawny kid. His muscles didn't seem to be developing healthily, so no matter how much he trained, a guy like him would always have limitations to becoming the strongest. Betagil had heard there were many young talents here, but it seems they were all overhyped. There was even some genius who got hit by a carriage and died before Betagil could even meet him. And at that moment, this old man was getting seriously worried. To train a proper successor, I need to teach them for at least 25 years, but I'm already 130 years old. At this rate, I'll die of old age, while still looking for a disciple. I've searched everywhere, and the only place left is the Burman territory. Back in the present, the old man Betagil was still rambling on. I came to this Burman territory with the determination to catch someone, even if it was just a stray sheep. And the moment I saw you, I realized that this arrogant and insolent brat must become the disciple of me, Master Betagil. He spoke while confidently pointing at Han Tae-sung, and the act of unilaterally appointing someone as his disciple without any regard for their opinion infuriated Han Tae-sung. What kind of nonsense are you spouting? I have no intention of becoming your disciple or anything of the sort. Hearing this, Betagil sighed and said, So that's not why you're showing restraint and concern for the one who's pressuring you. If you don't want to be my disciple, then win. Turning back to Han Tae-sung, he gritted his teeth. He thought to himself, wrong. From the very beginning, you've been an old man who refuses to listen to anyone. What kind of bad luck is this? I don't know what to do now. I can't just brush off someone of his stature. And on top of that, I'm still stuck with that other quest. If I lose, I'll have to become his disciple immediately. This is not good. I guess I have to make a deal with him. With no other choice, Han Tae-sung had to speak up and accept the offer. Fine, so what are we betting? Hearing this, Betagil put on an incredibly serious expression and said, It's to strike me. Across from him, Han Tae-sung's face went completely blank upon hearing this baffling request. But before he could even question it, Betagil continued, You have exactly one chance. Whether it's a physical or a magical attack, as long as I receive even the smallest wound, you will be the winner. Don't worry too much. Considering your current abilities, I'll limit my mana usage and only use my bare hands. As Betagil spoke, he confidently stuck his sword into the ground, and then the old man even flexed his muscles for Han Tae-sung to see. Of course, this body had been honed to its absolute peak, so it had no physical weaknesses whatsoever. Back to Han Tae-sung, watching an old man showing off his body was just making him sick to his stomach. I don't want any part of this. But wait a minute. Did he say he'd use his bare hands? Thinking about it, it seemed Han Tae-sung had just come up with a plan. Meanwhile, the old man Betagil was still smiling as he advised him, If you're not confident, it's not too late to become my disciple now. And in response to his offer, Han Tae-sung said coldly, Old man, do you know my name? A name that's not very important, is it? After all, I'll find out eventually, won't I? Betagil said nonchalantly. If you're not even curious about my name, it means you don't care about me as a person. You just need a tool to pass on your skills, not a disciple. I would rather die than become the disciple of someone like you. As he spoke, Han Tae-sung activated his skill. Great Annihilation Formation. Disregard the mighty and pulverize. The old man stared right back at Han Tae-sung, his eyes filled with interest. You talk as if you've already won, kid. Rest assured I have no intention of losing, Han Tae-sung said. With that, he charged straight at the old man with godlike speed, but with over 100 years of experience, Better could already predict his next moves. His reckless actions are so predictable. Is he dispersing the skill to apply a debuff to a single part of his opponent's body? He's probably aiming to weaken that one spot. However, tricks like that, Only work on common thugs? Fool. It's easy to counter if I can just find the body part affected by the debuff and turn the tables. Where did he put the debuff, that cunning brat? The old man muttered, starting to scan his body to see which part had its stats lowered. And right after that, his face immediately darkened when he discovered the debuffed area was unexpectedly his nether region. And while he was still in shock, Hantasung on the other side had already gone wild. He was already swinging his mace right at him, and the target he aimed for was the very spot with the debuff, as it was now the most poorly defended area. Faced with an attack on such a critical spot, even one of the continent's 5 heavenly stars was in so much pain his eyes bulged out. Then a huge explosion erupted, sending dust flying everywhere, and the crowd of extras nearby took the chance to start chattering. What's happening? Looks like they made a bet or something. The dust is flying everywhere, I can't see anything. Turning to Gang Manbach in the crowd, he was sweating a little as he said, "Come to think of it, this is the first time I've seen Siegfried fight properly. Is he really on the same level as us?" Hearing this, Jericho chimed in, "I figured he didn't defeat the Goblin Lord by himself." For nothing. And right as he finished saying that, Jericho flinched, looked forward, and said, "Huh, look, did he just drop dead?" From their perspective, the old man Bettercole had completely frozen in place. And this made everyone a little worried since he was quite old after all. "Looks like he's unconscious, not dead. Oh man, this is pretty serious." Back to Han Taesung. He felt a little guilty about what he'd done to the old man. Even though he's reached the master level, it seems he still hasn't trained that area enough. As one man to another, I'm sorry. Next time, don't go around making reckless bets like that. As Han Taesung said this, a message popped up in front of him announcing a quest reward. "Oh well, since I won the quest must be complete right, 4th quest complete. You have won a bet against Bettercole of the 5 heavenly stars. Would you like to receive the highest reward?" And of course our protagonist didn't hesitate to press yes. Just then the fat mouse Hamchi woke up from his daze. "What happened, master?" he asked, feeling like his head was still in the clouds. Seeing this, Han Taesung asked worriedly, "Hamchi, are you okay?" "Ugh, you damn master. You sent me spinning." Meanwhile, Han Taesung, seeing that he would still talk, was relieved. "Don't worry, everything's taken care of. Let's get out of here quickly, before that old man wakes up and starts bothering us. Now what was I about to do again?" Hearing this, the fat mouse next to him reminded him, "Didn't you say you were going to wear the Goblin Lord's corpses?" "That's right. I want to draw some of its blood before the body starts to decompose. That stuff can sell for a good price, you know." "Master, you're a real cheapskate." "Wrong! It's called being frugal," Han Taesung retorted. The scene changes to a desolate area. This is the site of the Shohoka ruins in the kingdom of Makalin, where a giant level 500 monster named Piton appeared 35 years ago. It's a popular hunting ground for adventurers between levels 40 and 60. The mercenary guild near the Shohoka ruins. Currently, this area is packed with countless adventurers. Shouts of recruitment can be heard everywhere. "We're looking for members. We need 2 DPS and 1 healer. We pay 10 gold per hour. We have room for members, blah blah blah." Countless voices like these rang out, and among them a girl was also struggling to make herself heard, looking for members. Hearing her voice, a buck-toothed young man nominated himself. "Hey, you looking for people for your party, right? Any spots left for a DPS? I've even upgraded my weapon for a special occasion like this," he said, showing off his new sword. But unfortunately for him, he wouldn't get a chance to use it because the girl immediately rejected him. "Sorry, our main damage dealer positions are already filled. That's why we're looking for someone for a support role." "I'm really, truly sorry," she said, bowing hastily. Hearing this, the buck-toothed young man got a little annoyed and turned to leave. "Damn it! Everyone's looking for a support," he grumbled. To clarify, supports are those who possess buff skills to strengthen allies or debuff skills to weaken them. Back to the girl. Her name is Gosrin. Entity Classification Adventurer Player. Level 48. Class Elemental Mage. Right now she was also looking out at the sea of people in front of her. Sigh. There are so many people here, but not a single priest or support. It seems like the people looking for party members here are all people I've seen before. Almost all of them are in the same boat as me. They're all just sitting here hoping a support cleric or priest shows up. Looks like today's hunt is a failure. Just as Gosrin said that, her eyes glazing over like a dead fish, something suddenly happened. She seemed to notice something. Her eyes widened. "That person. I think they just got here. A newbie," she thought, staring at someone's back. With a mouse on his shoulder. All right, let's see. Thinking this, Gosrin activated her ancient insight skill to check the information of the guy in front of her. And I don't know what she saw, But immediately after, she rushed to grab the young man's hand and said, "Excuse me, would you be interested in joining our party?" Let's go back a bit in time. After the incident in the Burman territory, I still had a ton of stuff to deal with in the real world. But it's all good because at least I finally paid off that debt. 200 million won in bank loans and another 100 million won from personal loans. Plus all the interest. Now that I think about it, why haven't those loan sharks been coming around to collect recently? They even caused a scene at my house demanding money once. Well, no news is good news, I guess. I wish they'd just stop asking, then I wouldn't have to pay. As Han Tae-sung was thinking this, the sound of a car horn caught his attention and he turned to look. The owner of this luxury car seems to be some rich playboy, taking his girlfriend to a restaurant. Meanwhile, Han Tae-sung could only watch admiring the car. That car must be crazy expensive, huh? I made a good amount of money from that last quest. But that was just a lucky break. A low-level player like me rarely gets a quest with such a high reward. In the game, there are clear milestones. Level 1, Level 50, Level 100, Level 200. BNV is a world with a class system just like in real life. On the other hand, after reaching Level 200, players get a lot of quests, with generous rewards and rare items. Plus, there's the Yule Merchant Guild that regularly helps out rookies. If you've got good health and a brave spirit, you can become a professional gamer. If you've got a knack for media, you could be a streamer. Whatever works as long as it makes money. Right now, I only have this old shabby capsule, but one day, I'll own luxury cars, live in a huge mansion, and marry a beautiful wife. Back to reality, Gosrin was smiling as she spoke. So what kind of skills do you have? But in response to her question, Han Tae-sung was still lost in his daydreams, which made the fat mouse beside him smack him. It gave him a slap and said, "Master, why are you zoning out like that? Are you imagining some unrealistic fantasies again?" And thanks to that slap from Hamchi, Han Tae-sung finally snapped out of it. He hurriedly said to the girl in front of him, "Oh, sorry, I was just thinking about something. What did you ask me?" "Oh, right. The thing is, my party is looking for a support. Like a priest, if you're not on a team. Would you be able to join us?" Hearing this, Han Tae-sung understood what this young woman was getting at. Turns out she saw my job class. Because I currently have it set to Master Debuffer, she thinks I'm a support player. What kind of nonsense am I thinking? Thinking this Han Tae-sung was about to speak up to refuse, "I'm sorry, I plan to go alone." But before Han Tae-sung could finish his sentence, that troublemaker rat Hamchi, who was beside him, quickly jumped in and said, We agree. Hey, why did you agree without asking me?" Han Tae-sung hurriedly turned to whisper to him, "Hey, look, you don't know anything about women. She's giving you the green light. The green light." "What's that? Are you planning to live a lonely life forever? From the look on your face just now, I knew you liked her." "Go for it." "That's not what I was thinking," Han Tae-sung said through gritted teeth. And after a few minutes of discussion, it seemed Han Tae-sung had lost the war of words with this rat, so he had to accept the current situation. Besides, I can't hide my skills forever anyway. Han Tae-sung thought to himself, then said, "Look, I can only use reinforcement spells to support from the back. Is that okay?" Hearing this, Ghostran on the other side cheerfully said, "Of course. We have enough attackers, so you just need to relax and use your enhancement skills on everyone. You'll join us then, right?" she said with sparkling eyes, and Han Tae-sung, the target of her persuasion, immediately softened at her gaze. The fat rat Hamchi also glanced over at him with a meaningful look. And just like that, Han Tae-sung tagged along with Ghostran and her party. They headed to the western outskirts of the Sohoka ruins. The Sohoka ruins were once a prosperous urban area, but this unfortunate city was turned into a pile of rubble 35 years ago by the wrath of the Thunder Serpent. Although it was defeated, a large amount of its magic seeped deep into the ground, and light element monsters were born from it. So that's the reason why light element monsters are the main type here, Han Tae-sung muttered. At that moment up ahead, one of Ghostran's teammates spoke up, asking her, "Hey, Ms. Ghostran, what's going on easy here? You really found a debuffer." "A debuffer? But isn't his level too low? He's only level 31. This guy Easy said quietly, so Han Tae-sung, who was behind them, couldn't hear. In response to his question, Ghostran didn't see the low level as a problem. "Don't worry about him. We're the main fighting force. He just stands in the back applying effects, so we don't need to pay that much attention to his level. If anything happens, I'll protect him, so you don't have to worry." Turning back to Easy after hearing what she said, he could only sigh. I don't know if she's just being kind or what. I've partied with buffers who give beneficial effects, and with healers before, but this is my first time with a debuffer. I'm actually nervous. It seemed Ghostran noticed the worry on Easy's face, so she said awkwardly, sorry. It's quite hard to find a healing priest or a strength-enhancing buffer. We're in the same party now, so let's just do our best together." And just as Ghostren finished speaking, she noticed something and quickly shouted, "Get down!" As she spoke, she grabbed Easy's head and pulled him down. Thanks to that, they were able to dodge an attack of some kind that came flying from the front. Han Tae-sung also looked at the source of the attack and thought, "Ha, is that a monster created from the Thunder Serpent's magic?" A light lizard. But as he looked, he saw several red-eyed lizards with bright yellow skin ahead of them. And perhaps due to the influence of the Thunder Serpent's power, their lower bodies looked like snake tails. Model. These are the mythical light lizards, spirit-type monsters born from the residual magic of a thunder python. They are numerous and aggressive, usually attacking in packs. Be careful when facing them. Level 35 spirit race gifted with light-based attacks. The scene turns to Ghostran as soon as she sees the monsters. She then shouted to everyone on the team, "Everyone to your battle positions, spread out! Easy. And I will hold the center position while the tanks block the monster pack." But following her command, the people on the front line immediately drew their shields to bolster their defenses. And then, Ghostren also turned around and said to Han Tae-sung, you use your enhancement skills on us from the rear?" "Ah, sure," Han Tae-sung replied, sounding bored. And with that, the battle officially began. The light lizards started to press their advantage, continuously opening their mouths and spitting lasers straight ahead. However, the tanks in Ghostren's party reacted quickly. As soon as they saw the attacks approaching, they raised their shields to protect their comrades. From the rear, Ghostran also seized the opportunity to attack with her magic. And just when the formation was working perfectly, for some reason this tank wielding the sword, suddenly broke formation and charged forward to attack the light lizards head-on. But this guy seemed to be quite strong. With just a single swing of his sword, he knocked several of the lizards flat on the ground. Even so, his act of breaking formation on his own made the other tank, a woman, complain, "Hey, I know you're a beast, but don't just charge in and face them head-on." "I like that." Hearing this, the black-haired guy replied with a bored tone, "They barely do any damage. All I have to do is block one hit, close the distance, and I can kill one. Besides, and why isn't anyone on our team using buffs or heals?" He said this while glancing back at Han Tae-sung, and then this guy started to look down on him. "A master debuffer. Why would we even need debuffs for trash mobs like these? What the hell did you guys bring him along for? Is he just here to leech rewards and experience?" With that thought, the guy spoke up. "Listen, I'll block all the attacks. The rest of you just finish them off quickly." The black-haired guy spoke with confidence, completely unaware that countless marks had already been placed on him. And while this idiot still hadn't figured out what was going on, he took a barrage of laser blasts right to the body. The result goes without saying. He was burned to a crisp. Immediately after, a sad notification was sent to the other players. Player Angel Smile has died. Seeing this, the other tank just wanted to slap him. But unfortunately, she couldn't because he was already dead. And right after that, the whole group realized they were surrounded by countless light lizards. Damn it. Where did all these monsters come from? There weren't this many here before, the blonde girl cried out. Next to her, Ghostran saw how bad the situation was and immediately suggested, "Let's go back the way we came." "I can't believe it. That way is blocked too," Easy said in a panic, turning towards Ghostran. She was also preparing to make a difficult decision. "There weren't this many monsters last time. I was too careless. There are 4 of us here, but we only have 3 teleport scrolls. I guess I'll have to be the one to stay behind," she thought to herself, preparing to use the scrolls to help the other 3 escape this place. But just then, Han Tae-sung confidently stepped forward and said, "You can just hold on to those. A scroll like that is too expensive for me to use. And don't go sacrificing yourself for anyone." "What do you mean?" Ghostran said, flustered. In response, Han Tae-sung could only sigh and remark, "You really are a good person, Ms. Ghostran. I know you're a kind and considerate person, but being too nice will only get you into trouble. You should save that teleport scroll for yourself. I can get away on my own. Why do you need to run?" "We're not in any danger from these monsters," Han Tae-sung said, as he started activating his 3 ultimate debuff skills, and right after that, beneath their feet, an incredibly complex magic circle appeared. After seeing the circle manifest, Han Tae-sung continued, "All right, there we go. The debuffs are active now. Now take them all down," he said, his voice full of excitement, and thanks to Han Tae-sung's weakening effect, the group started to go all out against these lizards. And you had to admit the weakening skill cast by Han Tae-sung was truly terrifying. With just 3 simple attacks, Easy was able to take down 3 of the lizards with ease. "Gold right ahead, huh? This mob is so weak. Just normal attacks are enough to handle them," Easy said cheerfully. Perhaps he'd never felt that monster hunting could be this easy. But no matter how easy the hunt was, Han Tae-sung, who was beside them, still had to speak up and remind everyone, I know you're all really excited, but the monster's attack power is still the same. So if you let your guard down, you'll end up just like the tank from before. Yeah, I know. Back to Han Tae-sung, he was going crazy with excitement on the inside. Look at this. Isn't this way too easy? Even though all I'm doing is standing in the back throwing debuffs, I'm still raking in tons of experience. Should I just tag along with parties like this and leech experience from the back? Han Tae-sung thought happily as he enjoyed the system's "You have received 50 experience" notifications, and while he was still enjoying it, suddenly Easy yelled, "Watch out!" Hearing that, Han Tae-sung quickly spun around to see that girl blocking a laser blast from some lizard for him, and after blocking the attack, the young woman didn't forget to ask, "Secret, are you all right?" "Ah, I'm fine, thank you," Han Tae-sung said, and then began to think to himself, this Ghost Ran girl? Her agility is no joke. If she had chosen the assassin or archer class, her level would probably be even higher. But it's a pity she chose the mage class. Not long after, the level up notification rang out. The whole party was overjoyed. We leveled up. We all went up at least one level. Anyone watching would think we were cheating. And at that moment, Han Tae-sung, standing nearby, tactfully said to them, "Looks like everyone's happy with this hunt, huh? You didn't seem to trust me much at first, but I'm glad you're all pleased now." Hearing that, Easy said bashfully, "Oh, come on, don't say that I've always believed in you." Meanwhile, the blonde girl felt like she'd had an epiphany after the battle with Han Tae-sung, as if she'd discovered a new truth. Buffers and healers can't even compare. "Hey, how dare you compare him to those scrubs?" Easy shouted angrily, and his reaction made Han Tae-sung, who was right beside him, think, this guy, he's getting way too intense. This is exactly why buffers are abused. Turning back to face him, the blonde girl asked innocently, "This is the first time I've seen a class that specializes in debuffs. Are you sure it isn't a hidden class?" Her question really startled Han Tae-sung, and he quickly blurted out, "No way, if it were I would have joined a major guild by now." "Then what is your class?" "It's a unique class, but all I can do is use debuffs. I can't do anything other than apply debuff effects." "Oh ho, so it is a unique class. Is it a new class in this virtual reality game?" "There are 4 class tiers: common, unique, legendary, and mythical. I couldn't even tell the tiers apart until the second class advancement. Have I been using my skills too freely because I didn't realize how important my class was? I'll have to be more careful from now on." And while Han Tae-sung was thinking about this, the Ghost Ren girl ran up to him and said, "Secret, we collected this stuff while we were hunting to give to you," she said, holding out a pile of yellow ore in front of Han Tae-sung. Lowest grade light crystal. Contains weak light attribute energy. Material type. Back to Han Tae-sung, he was a bit surprised. Isn't this way too much?" Hearing that Ghost Ran explained, "We usually give all this to our buffer after a hunt. We're giving it to you because we had such an easy time hunting today, and it was all thanks to you." "In that case, I'll gladly accept," Han Tae-sung said as he reached out and touched the pile of crystals. But at that very moment, the Ghost Ran girl seized the chance to grab his hand, her eyes sparkling as she said, "So, will you keep hunting with us? You will, won't you?" Right, model. Just calm down, we can talk later," Han Tae-sung thought to himself. And since he'd already fallen for her honey trap, he didn't want to disappoint this girl, so he had no choice but to speak. "Finding a party is pretty tough, but..." Before he could even finish, Ghost Ran cut him off and said, "Everyone, did you hear that? Secret said he'll keep hunting with us." Just like that, they started cheering and jumping for joy. Seeing this, Han Tae-sung could only remain silent for a moment. "Oh well, whatever. It's been a while since I've gotten to enjoy a normal life like this." Hamji on his shoulder heard this and said with a laugh, "Don't let one woman ruin your day. You shut it." Time flew by. A week had passed since I joined this party. At the Adventurers Rest Stop Cantor Hotel, Soha Branch. The group was saying their goodbyes after a long day of hunting. "All right, let's call it a day here. Good work, everyone. We'll continue tomorrow." For Han Tae-sung, this past week had no special events or major hauls, unlike the quest he received in the Berlin territory. However, at least Han Tae-sung leveled up safely and also unlocked a new support skill. He had made a small achievement. Just then, the fat rat Hamchi, who was beside him, asked, "So, Master, are you planning to do that tomorrow and return to the other world?" "Of course. I can't let this new skill I learned go to waste. First, let's take out the crystals we got today." As he spoke, Han Tae-sung took out a pile of yellow mana stones from his inventory and placed them in front of him. Then he activated that darn skill of his. I don't know what it's called. All I saw was that right after our protagonist activated this skill, a system message appeared. Attribute absorption activated. Absorbed 0.36 light attribute energy from a lowest grade light crystal. Light attribute magic resistance increased by 0.36. After reaching level 35, I got a new skill called attribute absorption. It's a skill that allows you to absorb attribute energy. Absorbing attribute energy increases your resistance to that attribute. And if you absorb a certain amount, you can enhance that skill. Current absorption rate. Light 1.14, dark 1, water 1, fire 1. For a skill like this, on the surface, it seems like a skill that simply increases attribute resistance. But if you absorb more than a certain amount, it can enhance other skills. The problem is, I don't know what that certain amount is. If it keeps increasing this slowly, when will I ever be able to strengthen my skills? Han Taesung said as he leaned back. Then, he began to think about his future plans. In any case, it's about time I stop hunting in a party. I just need to level up one more time to learn a new skill. Maybe I'll learn it tomorrow. And according to Han Taesung's plan, he could reach level 45 tomorrow, at which point he could learn a new skill, the flying dagger skill. But that was just what Han Taesung had planned. Will you continue hunting with me? Every time Gostren said those words, it was as if our protagonist was hypnotized. He would say, "All right, fine." And just like that, Han Taesung's resolve to leave the party slowly crumbled. Oh, for goodness sake. I don't know anymore. I'll think about it after I level up tomorrow, he said, leaning back in his chair. As he did, he accidentally squashed the fat rat underneath him. "Master, you're crushing me!" Hamchi yelled. Time flew by until the next morning. Han Taesung opened the door, yawning widely. He mumbled, "Are they all gathered already?" As he spoke, he looked ahead and was a bit surprised. Huh. Why are there so many people all of a sudden? Hamchi, what's going on? I don't know either, the fat rat replied, just as puzzled as he was. Just then, someone in the crowd noticed Han Taesung and shouted, "Hey, it's the debuff master! You're the debuff master, right? Party with me?" "What are you talking about?" "We got here first, get lost." "I was the one who got here first." The frantic crowd started to pull and tear at Han Taesung, making him cry out in alarm. "Are these people crazy? What are you all doing all of a sudden?" And in the middle of the chaos, Gostren showed up just in time and grabbed his hand tightly. Right after that, she used some kind of skill and pulled Han Taesung away quickly, ensuring their safe escape before the crowd grew even larger. Gostren even used 2 teleport scrolls to warp to a specific location, and as soon as she activated them, a pillar of light immediately shone down on them and they both vanished within it. Before the bewildered eyes of the other players, the scene shifts to a location within the ruins. A pillar of light shot down from the sky, revealing the figures of the two. Han Taesung and Gostren appeared once more. Ugh, I still can't get used to this teleportation feeling. This is the first place we ever hunted together as a team? Right, Han Taesung said, looking around. I never thought we'd be back here, but I'm really glad I could come back here with you. Turning towards Han Taesung, he got straight to the point. Gostren, what the hell is going on? To answer his question, she projected a screen and said, I think you need to see this first. Han Taesung's eyes followed. It appeared to be a trending post on the New World player forums regarding the Suhoka Ruins Debuff Masterclass. Upvotes 1,211. Comments 1,191. Explosive. Hey everyone, you have to see this video of the Debuff Master. Looks like buffers are about to lose their jobs, haha. When he applies, his debuffs the surrounding monsters just melt away. It seems like bringing one to... Buffer is twice as fast as having 2 buffers, right? By the way, who's the pretty girl in the front? Haha, is she a hidden class? Anyway, there were countless comments about this one. Buffer. At that moment, Gostren explained, a video of our party during a hunt has spread throughout the community. The person who filmed it was probably... But she didn't even need to say it. Han Taesung could already guess who it was. Itzy. The only one who doesn't appear in this video. That's right, he's already left the party. And I think he secretly recorded it when he moved to another area and uploaded it to the community page. But I don't understand why he would do that. Hearing this, Han Taesung's face filled with contempt. Acting like brothers to my face, then stabbing me in the back. How pathetic. This is bringing back some bad memories. Looking back at Gostren, she spoke awkwardly. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have pressured you into joining the party. He's the one at fault, Gostren. You didn't do anything wrong. Anyway, thanks for getting me out of that situation. So what will you do now? Gostren asked. I'll just keep leveling up and then move somewhere else. After all this, I don't think I can stay here anymore. The rumors are already everywhere. Hearing this, Gostren bit her lip and then... She seemed to make up her mind and then called out, Sick freak, do you want to form a party with me? Just the two of us. And of course, for a guy like Han Tae-sung, there was no way he could refuse an offer like that. After that, the two ventured deeper into the ruins. As they walked, Ghost-ran spoke up. There were so many monsters here the first time I came. But now, it's completely quiet. There's nothing around here. Is it because of that skill you used back then? Did it wipe them all out? Ha ha. Well, Han Tae-sung said, flustered. This is so awkward. I never thought being in a party with just two people would be like this. It's even more awkward than when I was in a bigger party. I wonder if it would be better to just go solo from now on. But how could I possibly say no when she asked me with that look on her face? Han Tae-sung thought, glancing over at Ghost-ran. Just then, the fat rat beside him let out a sly chuckle and said, Hey, master, wouldn't you agree with me? It's the atmosphere, that special connection. He said this in a deliberately annoying tone, which made our protagonist angry. Hamchi is teasing me again. You've been way too quiet lately. I was actually starting to worry something bad had happened to you. As he spoke, Han Tae-sung quickly reached for the fat rat on his shoulder, but unfortunately the little guy was too fast. It instantly leaped away and said, Hey, you're always so quick on the uptake. Except when it comes to romance, huh? And you know why I'm in such a good mood. It's because I think I'm finally getting my first skill back. Hearing this, Han Tae-sung's face lit up. Now that you mention it, if my level goes up, and then your level goes up too, so you'll get your skill soon enough. All right, let's take a look and see what that skill is, Han Tae-sung said, opening the new skill information window. Meanwhile, their entire conversation had been overheard by Ghost-ran, so she quickly ran over to take a peek. Oh, is that a skill for a divine beast? They say skills don't appear easily unless it's a high-level one. That's amazing. And hearing these words from Gosran Hamchi complained a little before immediately correcting her. Hey, don't annoy me with that kind of talk. I am the great spirit of the forest, you know. I formed a contract with my master to be his companion. I'm not just some pet, okay? Hearing this, Gosran scratched her head and apologized. I understand, I'm sorry. I just thought you were a pet, because you call him master. Well, I consider it a title I am forced to use in this employment relationship, Hamchi stammered. Can I just call you Hamchi then? And while she was smiling at the fat rat, Han Tae-sung stared at her and asked, I'm a bit curious about something. But why are you being so nice to me? Ghost-ran, is it because I'm a good buffer? Well, that's not entirely wrong, but first and foremost, you're easy on the eyes. Han Tae-sung had been acting normal until then. But after hearing her words, he was startled and said, What did you just say? Haha, I'm just kidding. Anyway, Siegfried, you're not very good at reacting when you're teased, are you? She's more cunning than I thought, Han Tae-sung grumbled. How interesting, the fat rat Hamchi thought, stroking his chin. Watching the pair talk, Gosran then said, To be honest, my initial reason for approaching you was indeed your buff skills. But now there's another reason. Another reason? Han Tae-sung asked. It's simple. I'm interested in you, Siegfried. Not as a master buffer, but as the gamer Siegfried. Hearing her say this, Han Tae-sung was a bit flustered and said, I'm not that great of a person. And although Han Tae-sung said that, Gosran still had her own opinion. Even if you're not great, you're still a good person. I could tell from watching how I've fought over the past week. At that time, it wasn't just about the buff skills, but also each person's positioning in the group, the condition of our items, and even the healing potions. Everything was taken care of so meticulously, wasn't it? I've never seen a buffer take such careful care of their party members. It's just a habit from when I was a guild master, Han Tae-sung thought, feeling guilty. Turning back to Gosran, she concluded, Anyway, that's why I'm curious. I wonder what the real-life Siegfried is like. I understand what you mean. But there's no need to be curious about me and just as Han Tae-sung said that, a tremor suddenly shook their surroundings, and while the group was still trying to figure out what was happening, the floor beneath their feet suddenly cracked open. This caused the entire group to fall down below. What's happening? Han Tae-sung screamed, while on the other side, Ghost-ran tried to grab hold of him, to prevent the two of them from getting separated. Not long after that, the system displayed a notification, Abnormal status. You are currently in a stunned state. Recovery in 5 seconds. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And as soon as the countdown finished, Han Tae-sung's eyes shot open. I was stunned. The ground suddenly collapsed. That kind of lightning. What the hell was that? Han Tae-sung thought as he started to sit up, and right after that, Gosran's voice rang out from behind him. Are you awake? Hearing this, our protagonist Han Tae-sung quickly turned around and shouted, Gosran Hamchi! You're finally awake, you weak master, Hamchi grumbled. Ignoring the fat rat's words for the moment, Han Tae-sung noticed Gosran's bleeding shoulder and asked worriedly, "Gosran, your shoulder?" It's nothing." The fat rat explained sheepishly earlier when we were falling. She shielded me and got hurt. I'm sorry for being a burden to you." Hearing this, Gosran waved her hand and said, "It's all right. It's not a big deal. I just used a healing potion. So I'll be fine in no time. But more importantly, Siegfried, do you see that?" Gosran said, glancing in a certain direction. And Han Tae-sung was stunned by the sight before him. It looked like a hallway in an incredibly modern facility. The system then issued a notification to remind them Suhoka Underground Ruins Laboratory of the Odric cult. Upon hearing the system's announcement, Han Tae-sung found it strange. "The Odric cult, huh? I've never heard of that religion before." "I haven't either. But there are a lot of suspicious things here. The countless corpses of the reptile warriors. The earlier situation when those lizard men appeared in swarms is probably connected to this place. But I've never heard of a dungeon like this in the Suhoka ruins. So this place might be a hidden dungeon, right?" Han Tae-sung said with a wide grin. It was easy to see why he was so happy. A hidden dungeon. Just as the name implies, it's a secret dungeon. It's like a special dungeon where you find unique monsters and quests like the Goblin Lord, which means the rewards will also be incredibly special, Han Tae-sung said, grinning from ear to ear as his eyes lit up like car headlights. His eyes were shining so brightly that Gosran, who was beside him, felt a little scared. His eyes suddenly lit up. Returning to the matter at hand, she voiced her concern. "But will we be okay with just the two of us? Hidden dungeons are really hard to clear." But before she could finish, Han Tae-sung noticed something and said, "Wait a minute. Someone's coming." Following his gaze at the bend in the corridor, a figure was moving, and right after that, the person collapsed to the ground, seemingly from exhaustion. Han Tae-sung and Gosran saw this, glanced at each other, and without another word, they knew what the other was thinking. The two of them quickly ran over to the stranger and gave him a recovery potion. "Ha! Thank you. Thanks to you two, I'm still alive," the black-haired man said sincerely, while Han Tae-sung opposite him asked, "What happened here?" Hearing this, the black-haired man took out a crest and began to explain. "I am a member of a secret order called the Protectors. I was dispatched with my fellow members after we learned of the Odric cult, a wicked group residing in the Suhoka ruins. But the members of this Odric cult were much stronger than we anticipated. I had no other choice but to flee. But there's still a chance. I am truly ashamed to have to ask this of you. But you're the only one who can help us. Please, can you stop the Odric cult?" Han Tae-sung, for his part, was practically ecstatic. This is definitely a quest. Thinking this, he immediately said, "We can do it, but how? You must destroy the 5 orbs inside their laboratory. If you don't, a catastrophe will be unleashed once more," the black-haired man explained. But just then, his pursuers caught up. "There they are! Get them!" "It's members of the Odric cult," Gosran said worriedly. As for Han Tae-sung, seeing the enemies charge forward, he wasn't the least bit afraid. In fact, he seemed a little excited. He took the mace from his inventory and said, "I'll handle them. Gosran, you protect that man." But Gosran immediately tried to talk him out of it. "But how can you possibly do anything with only your debuff skills?" "No, Gosran. You got hurt because of my mistake, so I will take responsibility for this. But can you promise me one thing?" "A promise. That's right. From now on, you are not to film or take pictures of me. Promise me you won't share anything that happens here, okay?" Han Tae-sung said in a dead serious voice. And just as he finished speaking, the members of the Odric cult closed in on him. But facing these small fry, Han Tae-sung only needed one swing of his mace to send all 3 of them to the floor. "This dungeon, I will conquer it," Han Tae-sung said with confidence. At that moment, Han Tae-sung also received a quest from the system. Quest: stop the Odric cult's plot. Quest type: destroy the energy orbs in the Odric cult's laboratory. Objective: to stop their plot. Progress: 0%. Energy orbs destroyed 0 out of 5. Warning: if the energy orbs are not destroyed in time, the calamity will be unleashed once more. And after getting beaten up, the blonde-haired man realized the difference in Han Tae-sung's strength and said, "You bastards. You're not protectors. You're adventurers." Han Tae-sung heard this and said coldly, "You don't need to know that. Where is the laboratory? Tell me and I'll let you live." But despite Han Tae-sung's tempting offer, the blonde-haired man decided to refuse. "Ha ha! Don't make me laugh. We of the Odric cult would never beg for something like that, you foolish heretic. It seems you're aiming for our laboratory. You'll regret ever setting foot in there." This guy spoke with an utterly crazed expression, while Han Tae-sung, on the other hand, was being so resolute. "Well, I have to commend you for your loyalty.
No matter what I ask, you just spout nonsense. Even if you torture me, I won't talk, the blondie stammered.
Why would I torture you? That's just too cruel. I just want to blow off some steam. Honestly, it's been a while since I've had a good fight, so my fists are getting a little itchy. You can keep that loyalty of yours to yourself. I just want to smash something. As Han Tae-sung spoke, a vicious expression appeared on his face, making the blondie break out in a cold sweat. He quickly changed his mind to save his own skin. Immediately, the guy pointed in one direction and said, "If you go inside, you'll see a three-way fork. Just turn right and go straight and you'll find the research lab." The guy confessed everything with utmost honesty. But unfortunately for him, he had put his trust in the wrong person, because right after he finished talking, Han Tae-sung didn't hesitate to give him a hammer to the head, knocking him out instantly. "It would have been better for you if you'd just talked from the start, you little brat," he grumbled. Then Han Tae-sung turned to Sieg and said, "We know the way now, let's go." Meanwhile, back with Gostrin, she was a bit stunned by Han Tae-sung's power and asked Siegfried, "Why? Why do I have to hide my power? When the mission is over, I'll tell you. Just wait," Han Tae-sung said calmly. "All right, but you promise you'll tell me." Gostran sighed and agreed. After that, the two of them quickly moved towards the end of the hallway, but what they didn't know was that the black-haired man from the Guardian Society was watching them with a rather strange look in his eyes. Cut to a laboratory somewhere. The room was filled with containment pods. This was the Suhoka underground ruin, the main base of the Audric cult's laboratory. Right now, a man dressed, like a commander, looked at the report in his hand and grumbled, "Shh, I can't use this. Always interfering with our research. Are you Guardians all that useless?" This man was the high priest of the Audric cult, Romulus. In his line of sight, there was another man, a member of the Guardians, who declared loudly, "We must protect this world. We Guardians will not follow your evil schemes, we will." But unfortunately, before he could finish, Romulus swung his sword and dealt with him instantly. When main characters run into a villain who doesn't like to talk much like this, they're in for a world of hurt. Anyway, back to the story. After dealing with the Guardian, he coldly ordered his lackeys, "Clean this up." "Yes, sir," they replied hastily. And then he turned to a bald man and asked, "What about the Guardian who just escaped?" "The other missionaries are chasing him now, sir." "He was injured, so he couldn't have gotten far," the man said hurriedly. Back to Romulus, it's unclear what was wrong with this psycho, but he was now pitying the Guardians that he had just disposed of. Poor Guardians. They caused a ruckus to stop us, but in the end they only met with failure. From the great beyond, you all better keep your eyes open and watch. The reborn demigod shall ring the sacred bell of the temple, Romulus said while looking at a giant egg placed inside a large glass tank. But at that very moment, while he was lost in his delusions, a fire magic spell was suddenly activated not far away, and right after that, the spell was complete, and it fired a powerful attack straight at the glass tank in front of Romulus, shattering it into pieces. Witnessing this from below, Romulus's eyes filled with despair. "No!" He let out a desperate scream, but right after that, a voice rang out from behind Romulus, catching his attention. "Nice shot, Ms. Gostran." Following his gaze, the culprits were none other than Han Tae-sung and Gostrin. Their appearance made a Romulus yell, "Who are you? Are you Guardians? Why does everyone I meet ask me that I'm a destroyer, you bastard?" Han Tae-sung said angrily. Back to Romulus, the appearance of the two strangers made him raise his guard to the maximum. Did they take out the priests outside? With that thought, he hastily gave an order. Research team, increase the output to maximum. Intruders have broken in. We must perform the resurrection ritual immediately. Following his command, the remaining people rushed to the control machinery and pulled the lever to activate the resurrection. And as soon as the lever was pulled, a terrifying surge of energy was channeled to the energy orbs. Right after that, a notification was sent to Han Tae-sung and Gostran. The resurrection ritual has begun. You must destroy 5 orbs within 5 minutes to prevent the boss monster from regenerating. Orbs destroyed 1 out of 5. Time remaining 4 minutes and 59 seconds. Back to Gostran after seeing the system notification, she said worriedly, "This is bad. It's a time-limited mission." Han Tae-sung, seeing the urgency of the situation, immediately assigned the OBS to Gostran. "You handle them. I'll handle the rest. But are you sure you can manage on your own? There aren't that many of them," Han Tae-sung said confidently. "Only that Romulus guy is a bit of a pain, but it's not a huge problem." "All right then, you deal with the OBS." As he spoke, Han Tae-sung charged forward to buy time for Gostran to complete her mission. Meanwhile, on the opposite side, Romulus also commanded his underlings. "Punish those insolent heretics for me." And just like that, the two sides clashed in a fierce melee. These two minions seemed to coordinate their attacks. Just as one attacked Han Tae-sung from behind with an axe, the other charged forward while Han's weapon was busy blocking his comrade's axe. Without a hint of hesitation, he swung his sword straight for his neck, but Han Tae-sung reacted instantly. He immediately dropped his body low to dodge the attack. He then brought his elbow up and smashed it right into the axe wielder's face, making the man's eyes roll back in pain. And as the bald one tried to rush in for a cheap shot, Han Tae-sung sent him flying over a meter away with a flick to the face. But the axe wielder used this opening to launch a sneak attack. Fortunately, our protagonist reacted quickly, raising his mace just in time to block the blow. And at that very moment, while Han Tae-sung was occupied with the axe wielder, a magical attack suddenly flew straight towards him. A massive explosion erupted, kicking up a cloud of dust and debris. It seemed like Han Tae-sung was finished, but miraculously, he had managed to grab the axe wielder by the neck and use him as a human shield. Having your lackeys gang up on me and then attacking yourself, isn't that going a little too far? Han Tae-sung said, glaring ahead at the one who had cast that magic attack. It was none other than Romulus himself. To Han Tae-sung's taunt, he immediately shot back. The one using someone else as a shield has no right to say that. I'll admit you are very strong. Powerful combat instincts and your situational awareness isn't bad either. You truly are a formidable opponent even for the great Romulus. But so what? You're all alone now? So planning to surrender. Who told you I was alone? Han Tae-sung said coldly. As he spoke, a phantom suddenly appeared behind him, its hands reaching for his throat. With his beast-like senses, Han Tae-sung instantly reacted, swinging his mace behind him. But when his weapon met the phantom, it passed right through. Like hitting smoke. This is a spirit, not a demon, Han Tae-sung thought, staring at the translucent skull floating before him. The source of this skull was the corpse of the axe-wielder lying dead below. And while Han Tae-sung was still trying to figure out what was going on, the crazed Romulus began to explain his power. I am Romulus, a high priest of the great Audric sect and a dark priest. The souls of the dead are my power, as long as there are corpses around me. You cannot defeat me, so you heretic! You will die and become my power. He laughed as he spoke, as if victory was already in the palm of his hand. And you had to admit this ability was quite similar to our protagonist's. Here is the information on him. Romulus, High Priest of the Audric sect. Level 55. Race Human. Class Dark Priest. Unique ability Corpse Shadow. And in order to finish Han Tae-sung off quickly, Romulus directed 3 phantom skulls to charge at him. Faced with these phantoms, which were immune to physical attacks, Han Tae-sung could only turn and run. But unfortunately for our protagonist, these monsters could also fly. Han Tae-sung knew he couldn't escape, so as soon as he'd created some distance, he spun around and swung his mace at the skulls. But the result wasn't surprising. All of his attacks passed right through the phantoms' bodies. One of the phantoms even began to cackle as if mocking Han Tae-sung's pointless actions. Then all 3 of them passed through Han Tae-sung like smoke. He felt no pain, but there was still a problem. Every time they passed through him, his life points decreased. A debuff from a summoned creature and physical attacks are useless. If this drags on, I'll definitely lose. I have to end this and fast. Han Tae-sung thought, his eyes darting to the timer. Only 3 minutes remained before the boss monster would respawn. Looking at it, Han Tae-sung suddenly had a realization. Don't tell me that bastard's goal is to stall for time, he said, glaring at the white-haired man. At that, the man burst out laughing like a rabid dog. Ha ha, you idiot! You can't catch my specters with those pathetic little swings! Is that so? Then I'll just have to hit you instead! Han Tae-sung shouted, launching himself at his opponent like a bolt of lightning. At the same time, he activated his skill smash. This is a skill that deals massive damage to the enemy. As soon as it was activated, the mace in his hand began to emit a faint but dangerous light. But this Romulus guy really lived up to his title as the commander of these minions. Even though he was a mage, he was still agile enough to react to the attack. He attacked and raised the sword in his hand to block. Of course, with his frail body, he was still sent flying backward after taking the hit. Oh, you managed to block that? Well then, can your face block this one? Han Tae-sung said in a provocative tone. And just as expected, after hearing that, the blood rushed to Romulus's head. You damned heretic, I'll kill you! Romulus screamed as he began to command countless wraiths to charge straight at Han Tae-sung. Right now, his whole body looked as if it were being engulfed by a storm of wraiths, all around him. And now it was Romulus's turn to taunt back. Come on, smash whatever you want. You can't defeat me and you can't stop the disaster's revival. As he spoke, he began to increase the speed of the phantom whirlwind. But unfortunately for him, at that very moment, Han Tae-sung's system displayed a notification. Reached level 45. You can now use the new skill, Flying Javelin. Flying Javelin throws the weapon toward the target, and in Romulus's eyes, at the very moment he thought he was about to win, a beam of light suddenly shot up from the center of the whirlwind, completely obliterating his wraiths. This is... Romulus stammered, speechless. It's divine punishment, you bastard, Han Tae-sung said with a smile, and right after that, he waved his hand to control the mace in his hand and attack Romulus, and then the mace suddenly transformed into a beam of light, flying at rocket speed and crashing straight into the white-haired man. It made him vomit a bucket of blood. At this rate, if he wasn't dead, he was barely hanging on. The mace then pushed him back, slamming him into a glass tank behind him, before finally stopping.
Controlling it isn't as hard as I thought. If I had known, I would have used it sooner,
Han Tae-sung said to himself as he began to control the mace, bringing it back to him. You could say this was a technique quite similar to telekinesis in wuxia stories.
Now all that's left is to smash that OBS to bits, huh?
Han Tae-sung muttered, turning toward Ghostran. At that moment, she was also unleashing a crazy amount of firepower on the energy crystals. All right, only 2 more OBS left. Come on, just hold on a little longer, she told herself. And at crucial moments like these, some guy is always bound to show up and ruin things, just like this bald guy. As soon as he saw Ghostran destroying the plan to revive the monster, he yelled, "Stop! Do not interfere with our ritual." As he spoke, he gripped Ghostran's injured arm, interrupting her spellcasting. Damn it, I'm almost out of time, Ghostran thought, gritting her teeth. The time remaining was 1 minute and 20 seconds, and while she was still unsure of what to do, a javelin suddenly flew in from somewhere, heading straight for the OBS, and causing a rather large explosion. A black-haired cultist saw it and cried out, "Oh no!" But before he could scream anything else, he took a punch straight to the face from Han Tae-sung. Then Han Tae-sung also conveniently knocked away the bald guy who was restraining Ghostran. Siegfried, Ghostran said joyfully. Han Tae-sung looked over at her and asked, "Does it hurt a lot?" "Your shoulder's injured, so it's hard to aim right." "I caused trouble again. I'm sorry," she said sadly. "Don't worry about it. You have to destroy the last OBS anyway." Hearing that Ghostran was a bit confused because it was clear that Han Tae-sung's mace control skill was more effective at destroying these things. Han Tae-sung could see her confusion and explained, "This skill is on cooldown. Flying Javelin throws the weapon toward the target. Cooldown 3 minutes. Normal attacks don't work on it, so we can only rely on your magic Ghostran," Han Tae-sung said calmly, but for some reason, the more faith Han Tae-sung placed in her, the more anxious she felt. The protagonist knew she was very tense, so he tried to joke around a bit. If it were me, I'd at least give it a try whether I succeed or not. Time's going to pass anyway. We have to do something right." "Ah, yes. I'll give it a try. But don't blame me if I miss, okay?" Ghostran said as she began to aim her staff upwards, preparing for the final blow. There were only 15 seconds left, and if this shot missed, there wouldn't be another chance. "Please, it has to hit." Ghostran began to pray. Turning back to Han Tae-sung to keep her hand from shaking, he gently took it and helped her aim more accurately. And this act from our main character also helped Ghostran become much more confident. She let out a powerful shout and then unleashed her own powerful magic straight at the OBS orb. In the end, with only 1 second left, that guy Romulus, who still wasn't dead, saw this and jumped out to block the magic spell. And as a result, he took a full-powered hit right to the center of his body. "I am Romulus. I will bring a rain of flowers down upon this world." After saying his piece, the white-haired guy kicked the bucket. But his act of martyrdom made both Han Tae-sung and Ghostran's faces go pale. And then the inevitable happened. The system immediately issued a notification: time is up. You have failed to prevent the boss monster's resurrection. OBS destroyed 4 out of 5. Prepare yourselves. The boss is about to awaken. And as this notification appeared, the egg in front of the 2 of them suddenly began to emit countless streams of light. Meanwhile, Han Tae-sung was starting to regret it so much it hurt. That damn bastard. I should have taken him out way earlier. He turned back to Ghostran, who was still focused on what was in front of them, and she pointed out, "Hey, that chain. Is that?" Following their gaze, they saw that after the egg shattered, a giant creature had appeared. It took the form of a great white serpent with countless bolts of lightning crackling around it. And to welcome the birth of this boss, the system issued a bright red quest notification: eradicate the catastrophe. Quest classification hidden. Objective: defeat the resurrected catastrophe, the Thunder Serpent. Progress 0%. Defeat the boss. 0 out of 1. Completion reward. Item dropped upon defeating the boss. After seeing the appearance of this giant monster, he laughed so hard he broke into a sweat. These crazy bastards. So the catastrophe they resurrected was this Thunder Serpent, huh? But why is it so small in the ancient myths, eh? The Thunder Serpent was a giant python that coiled around a massive mountain or something. But this monster in front of me, I mean, it's big, sure. But at most, it's only about 20 meters long. Thunder Serpent. The monster resurrected through the heretical experiments of the Odric cult, a creature from another world that once turned the prosperous land of Shohoka into ruins in a single night. Level 70. Species unknown. Rank boss monster. Class lightning nemesis. Special ability electric breath. After seeing its level, Han Tae-sung was genuinely shocked. It's only level 70, and this is what they call a catastrophe. Then what would you call me back when I was level 200, but even so? At this level, we should probably run first. We can figure out the rest later. As she said this, she glanced worriedly at Han Tae-sung and asked, "You're not planning on attacking it, are you?" And her worry was completely justified since right next to her that guy Han, Tae-sung already had his spear in hand. "Sorry, but I can't resist a rare monster. Just leave this to me. You get out of here." And as our hero Han Tae-sung said this, he was a bit surprised to see that Ghostran had already started using some kind of potion. This is an elemental resistance potion. It's a low-grade one, so it's not very effective, but it's better than nothing, right? As she spoke, she handed Han Tae-sung another bottle. Before Han Tae-sung could even understand, she continued, "You're right. Now that we're here, we can't miss this opportunity. I'll protect him. We'll fight side by side until the very end." Hearing this, Han Tae-sung smiled and said, "All right then. But if we die, I'm not taking responsibility for it." And just as Han Tae-sung said those words, the Thunder Serpent charged straight towards them. Seeing this, they both quickly jumped to the side to dodge its ramming attack. Its quick speed made Han Tae-sung praise it. For its size, that speed is terrifying. "I can't let my guard down," he said as he used the potion, and right after that, the system announced elemental resistance has increased by 50. Back to the Thunder Serpent, after missing its first attack, it immediately turned around and aimed straight for Han Tae-sung. The giant snake attacked like a race car, forcing Han Tae-sung to hastily back away to avoid being crushed. Then Han Tae-sung used the momentum to leap straight onto a pillar, bouncing off it to launch himself down from above. Let's see if it can block this critical hit. Or not. As Han Tae-sung spoke, he activated his Great Annihilation Formation skill to weaken the enemy's defense and magic resistance. At the same time, he also activated his Smash skill. The mace in his hand began to be enveloped in a bright light, and as soon as he landed, he hit the Thunder Serpent with 3 consecutive blows. But it seemed like it didn't do much damage at all, because right after that, the Thunder Serpent was still full of life and attacked as usual. It even took advantage of the moment Han Tae-sung was still airborne from dodging a blow, and the massive snake used the opportunity to gather power in its mouth, preparing to fire a laser. This was its electric breath skill, and because Han Tae-sung was in mid-air, dodging was nearly impossible. Back to Gosaran, she realized the situation was extremely critical, so she immediately used her fire magic. At the exact moment the monster spat out the laser, she launched her own attack straight into its mouth, causing the blast to go off course. Thanks to that, Han Tae-sung narrowly escaped death. Seeing this, Gosaran quickly ran over. "Seek, are you okay?" "Ugh, that was too close. I almost lost my head," he said, scratching his head. Then he looked down at the floor, which had turned to lava from the Thunder Serpent's powerful attack. And he thought, even though it's weakened, a hidden boss is still a hidden boss. Its attack range must be absolutely insane. Gosaran, who was beside him, also realized the problem and said, "Just one more attack like that, and this whole lab will collapse. We have to finish it quickly before it gets stronger." "I think so too, but it's not going to wait for us," Han Tae-sung said, looking at the Thunder Serpent, which was now enveloped in an electric shield. Whether it was a passive skill or something else, the system announced, Thunder Serpent is protecting its body with an electric shield. Magic resistance has increased by 200. Touching the electric shield will cause electric shock and paralysis. Back with Han Tae-sung, after seeing the large snake's skill, he was fed up. It's channeling mana into its electric breath while simultaneously reinforcing its shield to recover. What kind of monster has 0 openings? Han Tae-sung sighed to himself. Gosaran also felt the difficulty of the situation and turned to ask, "What should we do now? Magic can't even touch it." And if we use close-range attacks, we'll just get paralyzed by its shield. Over here. Han Tae-sung had already figured out a countermeasure and said, "There's still hope? It's time we used a debuff." As Han Tae-sung spoke, he began to activate his Annihilating Weaken skill to reduce the enemy's stamina and mana. And right after this skill was used, a green light began to envelop the monster's massive body. Then right after that, its whole body began to writhe in pain, so much so that it couldn't even maintain its electric shield anymore. The Thunder Serpent has gone berserk from the pain. The electric shield has disappeared. "The shield is broken?" Goserin said in surprise, but Han Tae-sung wasn't surprised at all. "No matter how high its magic resistance is, it still has to take the damage as usual, right? Because it was forced to use the electric shield, it couldn't gather mana, and it must have lost a lot of health too," Han Tae-sung thought to himself as he looked at the monster's remaining health and mana. From the looks of it, it only had about 30% left. "This is enough," he muttered, and began to charge forward to the surprise of Goserin behind him. The Thunder Serpent in front of them had also become enraged to the point of madness without a shred of hesitation. It immediately used its Electric Breath skill and aimed straight for Han Tae-sung. But the monster had gotten a bit smarter. Instead of releasing all its energy in one blast, it switched to a single-shot mode and fired countless lightning bolts at him. But shooting like this also reduced its attack speed, allowing Han Tae-sung to easily dodge them. And as soon as he got close to the monster, our main character gathered all his strength and slammed his staff right into it, but he had only just landed one blow. Then the Thunder Serpent swung its tail, attacking Han Tae-sung. Seeing this, he used his speed control skill to reduce the enemy's damage and attack speed. As this skill was activated from the palm of Han Tae-sung's hand, countless chains shot out tightly, wrapping around the Thunder Serpent's massive body. This severely restricted its movements. "You think I'd fall for that again?" the stubborn Han Tae-sung said as he leaped straight towards the monster's head. To deliver the finishing blow, and just to be sure, he also activated the skill Disdain for the Strong, which increases damage dealt to higher-level opponents and reduces damage received in return. And after unleashing every skill he had, Han Tae-sung landed a mountain-shattering blow straight to the monster's neck area, and right after that, a system message appeared. "Prevent the Odric cult's plot mission complete." And from a top-down view, we can see that the Thunder Serpent's head and body had been severed by Han Tae-sung, and his contribution also earned him countless system notifications. Preventing the Odric cult's plot has been completed. Collect rewards from the Thunder Serpent's corpse. Leveled up. You have reached level 46. Back to Han Tae-sung. He felt a bit disappointed. He thought he'd gain at least 2 levels. Who would have thought he'd only get 1? At this rate, when will I ever reach level 200? The experience points are a letdown, but at least the rewards aren't bad. And while Han Tae-sung was feeling down about the small amount of experience the Thunder Serpent provided Miss Gostran, who was nearby, hurriedly ran over and said, "I can't believe it. You actually defeated it." "You worked hard too, Miss Gostran. By the way, why haven't the rewards appeared yet?" Han Tae-sung wondered. Miss Gostran also looked at him with suspicious eyes. "He's definitely lying. He could have beaten it even without me," she thought to herself, then turned to look at the Thunder Serpent's head. Even with buffs, it would take 5 level 70 players to take down this boss monster. And yet at only level 45, he managed to handle it all by himself. It's truly unbelievable. And while she was lost in thought, Han Tae-sung suddenly spoke up, startling her. Sorry. I was thinking about something else. Shall we check the rewards?" No. First, there's something else important." "I knew it. You're still hiding something." And faced with Gostran's serious expression, Han Tae-sung said something completely out of the blue. "Do you have any rubber gloves?" And this sentence left the young woman completely dumbfounded, but right after that, she understood the reason when Han Tae-sung explained, "But no matter how you look at it, I think we have to carve this Thunder Serpent up to get the rewards. Hey, game devs, you should fix this." "That is indeed an important point, isn't it?" Gostran said awkwardly. After that, the process of butchering the Thunder Serpent officially began, and not long after they had sorted through the materials, the system announced, "Notification: you have obtained Thunder Serpent scales. You have obtained serpent blood. You have obtained serpent meat and serpent bones. You have obtained serpent fangs." A series of notifications began to ring out, making Miss Gostran ecstatic. "Just these few high-quality items are already so much. These giant bosses really make our efforts worthwhile." "They're just so big," Han Tae-sung said, panting heavily. "Are you not satisfied with the rewards?" Gostran teased. Back to Han Tae-sung, he truly wasn't satisfied. We've already carved it up and all we got was this useless junk. What a boring hidden monster. The only useful thing is this, he said as he looked towards the Thunder Serpent's core. Serpent core. The energy mass inside the Thunder Serpent's body contains a large amount of energy. Classification, consumable. Serpent core. If I absorb this, I won't have to struggle anymore. But there's only one core. It can't be split, he thought, glancing over at Gostran. Then it seemed he had made a decision, so he stepped forward and said, Miss Gostran, this might sound a bit strange, but you made an important contribution, Miss Gostran. To be honest, though, I think I was the one who did the main part of the quest, but I have no intention of taking all the rewards for myself, so I'll just take this serpent core. The rest is all yours. This guy sweating bullets as he spoke. He takes all the good stuff for himself and just throws the trash to the girl to deal with. And sure enough, his sly-as-a-fox idea made the conversation fall silent for a moment. This clumsy attempt to cover his tracks didn't work at all. Han Tae-sung thought to himself while across from him, Gostran couldn't help but burst out laughing. Why are you laughing? You're giving me the creeps. Hearing this, Gostran smiled and said, The more I observe you, Secret, the more interesting you become. You don't have to overthink it. Of course, all these rewards should belong to you. Yes. But Han Tae-sung, flustered, tried to say something else. But before he could, the girl across from him cut him off. Do you remember when we hunted as a party? I took the experience points and you took the rewards. It's the same this time, so don't worry. I think just doing this quest with you was my reward. This was the most amazing quest I've ever done, so I'll definitely never forget it. Turning back to Han Tae-sung, hearing what she said, he reluctantly spoke. If you put it that way, I guess I have no choice. That's what he wanted to say out loud, but his inner thoughts were completely different. I can't believe this happened. It's not that I don't like it, but there's no way my inventory has enough space for all this. It would be better to split it. And while Han Tae-sung still didn't know where to stuff all these items, the fat mouse Hamchi appeared smiling and said, Is it time for this magnificent body to make an appearance? What is it, Hamchi? You want to steal the leftovers? You were hiding because of the smell, weren't you? Han Tae-sung said with a sigh. But the fat mouse jumped off his shoulder and replied, You foolish master, you still don't understand why I'm number one, do you? Shoo! As it spoke, it raised both hands above its head and pulled them wide apart. And right after that, something miraculous happened as Hamchi performed this action. A stream of light appeared in its hands, transforming into a small bag. Look, this is my new magic. It's called the bottomless bag, Hamchi bragged cheerfully. But before it could boast any further, Han Tae-sung pulled it right in front of his face and said, Oh, so this is your new skill, huh?
It's just an old piece of cloth,
Han Tae-sung said, bored. But right after that, he noticed the inside of the bag. It was an endless space, just like the universe. Wait a minute, what is this? I've never seen anything like it, he exclaimed in shock. To answer his question, the system displayed a notification. Go ahead and take it. Bottomless bag. A magic bag summoned by Hamchi's skill. It is an item, from the spirit world representing the emptiness of the void. As an item representing the void, its capacity is infinite. Hamchi can wear the void bag, on its back and store items inside. Back to Han Tae-sung, after reading the description, his jaw had already dropped. Infinite capacity. People usually have problems with limited inventory space, but this skill completely solves that. Thinking about this, Han Tae-sung couldn't stop grinning and said, Hamchi, you little rascal, you've finally become useful. I'm always ready to be the center of attention, Hamchi said indignantly. Seeing this, Han Tae-sung quickly tried to soothe him. Is there anything you want to eat? It's my treat today. While he was in high spirits, from behind them, a man's voice rang out. It seems you really did defeat it. This sudden voice caught the attention of both Han Tae-sung and Gostran, who quickly turned around. Who are you? Han Tae-sung shouted, thinking at the same time. I didn't sense his presence at all until he spoke. At that moment, the mysterious man continued. Ha ha ha, don't misunderstand. I am not your enemy. The man spoke as he walked towards them. At that moment, Han Tae-sung had a jolt of recognition and said, You're that injured guard I just met, aren't you? Hearing that the black-haired man seemed a bit surprised, then he burst out laughing. Ha ha! I forgot I was still in this form. I was planning a grand entrance, but now I feel so embarrassed. After he had his fill of laughter, the man looked at Han Tae-sung with ice-cold eyes and said, Anyway, it's a pleasure to meet you. Oh no, I should call you Han Tae-sung, shouldn't I? As the man spoke, his face slowly transformed, becoming a completely different person. And as soon as he finished his sentence, Han Tae-sung was already in front of him, growling, "Who the hell are you, bastard?" As he spoke, he pointed his mace straight at the man's face, his crush skill already activated. Turning to the mysterious man, even though Han Tae-sung was threatening him from the front, he remained perfectly calm and said, "You'll know if you use ancient language clairvoyance. I am John Ujin. Reveal identity." "How do you know my name?" Han Tae-sung yelled. Hearing this, John Ujin just smiled and slowly grabbed Han Tae-sung's mace, saying, You're the type to act before you think, aren't you? Even with clairvoyance, you won't find a single clue about me. You know that, right?" As he spoke, he began to emit a terrifying aura that sent Han Tae-sung staggering backward. Thanks to that, Han Tae-sung was able to clear his head. I almost forgot. If the level gap is too big, he can hide his own information. With that thought, he calmed down and asked, "So what does a powerful person like you want sneaking up on me like this? Your purpose isn't just to show off your strength. And to a level 46 like me, is it?" Across from him, John Ujin heard this and looked a bit embarrassed, then said, "Haha, my apologies. It seems I'm the one whose hands are faster than their brain. To be honest, there's no big reason. I'm just interested in you." "You're interested in a low-level player like me?" Han Tae-sung asked, confused. In response, the handsome man across from him laid his cards on the table. "Let's be real. You might be a low-level player, but you're no ordinary one, are you? The one and only student of D-Oth." Han Tae-sung's face darkened upon hearing this. "How did you know?" Han Tae-sung asked coldly. Heh, don't worry. I'm the only one who knows about DOTH. If you want to hear more, come to Sinsadong. I'll be in touch soon, John Ujin said as he started to walk away. But then, he seemed to remember something and turned to Gosaran beside him. "Sorry for ruining the atmosphere. You two can continue your date," after saying that the handsome man left for good. Meanwhile, Han Tae-sung's face was as black as thunder. "My identity has been exposed, and by a really powerful guy, no less. Do the other players know?" He said he was the only one who knew about Master D-Oth, but can I really trust him? Could Genesis already know who I am? Damn it, I've only just gotten started. Does it really have to end like this? The more Han Tae-sung thought about it, the more stressed he became until sweat was pouring down his face. Luckily for him, Gosaran noticed his unstable state and slapped both of his cheeks hard to help him snap out of it. Then she said, "I don't know anything. Even if I heard something, I'm not interested. I didn't record a video or take any screenshots, so don't worry." "Sick freak, you have nothing to worry about." Even the fat rat Hamchi encouraged him at that moment. "Master, don't be scared." And faced with their words of encouragement, Han Tae-sung was a bit stunned. He then let out a sigh and said, "Thank you, both of you." After we left the hidden dungeon, the three of us went our separate ways. Gosaran said she was returning to the ruins for a while to level up, and since then, I still haven't logged back into BNW even though Gosaran and Hamshi reassured me. Is it because I'm worried about being exposed? I don't even know anymore. I should just sleep on it. It's been 3 days since I last logged into the game, and right around that time, I got an email from that John Ujin guy. The message read, "Tonight at Club Heaven in Sinsadong, find John Ujin." And so that evening, in the Sinsadong area of Gangnam, Han Tae-sung arrived at the appointed place. This John Ujin guy, he's definitely not a normal person. Why would he want to meet at a nightclub? By the way, it's been a while since I've had a chance to walk around the city at night like this. While everyone else is out having fun, all I do is bury my head in games, Han Tae-sung muttered, as he watched the people passing by. Not long after, he found the place he was looking for. Club Heaven. Is he in there? This is my first time at a place like this. I probably won't get turned away at the door, right? Han Tae-sung felt a bit overwhelmed by the massive building in front of him, and just as he'd feared, this country boy was immediately rejected. Just as he was about to step inside, he was stopped by a huge security guard. "You're violating the dress code." Oh man, I really got rejected. At least it's because of my clothes and not my looks, Han Tae-sung thought to himself before stammering, I'm not here to party. I just need to meet someone. Please just let me in for a minute." At Han Tae-sung's request, the guard's face soured completely. He looked like he really wanted to punch him, but it didn't work. So that approach isn't working either, huh? He thought. While Han Tae-sung was still racking his brain for a way inside, he heard a few mocking voices from behind him. "Oh my god, who wears a tracksuit to a club? Stop mumbling, he can hear you," the girl next to him whispered urgently. But her boyfriend paid her no mind. In fact, at that moment, He even flipped Han Tae-sung the middle finger and taunted, "So what if you can hear me? Take a good look. Hey, you little punk, stop causing trouble and get lost." Heh. Han Tae-sung's eyes widened. This bastard. But before he could fly into a rage, someone put an arm around his shoulder and said, "Our Tae-sung is here. You really should have dressed up a bit." Han Tae-sung turned, and upon seeing the familiar face, he asked John Ujin, and at that very moment, the huge security guard quickly bowed his head and said, "I'm sorry, I didn't realize you were a friend of John Ujin's." "It's all right, it's his first time here." But treating him like that was a bit rude. "If I were the bouncer, I'd want to kick his ass out too," John Ujin said, smiling at Han Tae-sung. "I thought he told me to come," Han Tae-sung complained. After that, they both headed into the bar. And before leaving, the grudge-holding Han Tae-sung didn't forget to give the guy in the hat a middle finger in return. And he wasn't the only one. Just then, that John Ujin guy glanced over at them as if trying to memorize their builds. "We're screwed, my love. We can never come to Shinsadong again." Hearing this, the girl said, "No way. How could that loser know John Ujin?" The scene changes to inside the bar while a crowd of people are dancing to the pounding music. In a certain VIP room, John Ujin's voice rang out, "What would you like to drink, Dom Perignon or Armagnac? If you don't like champagne, I can get you something else," Ujin said casually, picking up a bottle of liquor. As for Han Tae-sung, he didn't really care about the drinks. The moment he sat down, he got straight to the point. "I don't know who you are, and I didn't come here to drink. If you want to dance, go out there and have fun." Hearing this, Han Tae-sung started to get pissed off. "Damn it! Are you deliberately trying to provoke me? You're the one who told me to come here, aren't you?" After hearing that, John Ujin poured himself a drink and said with a laugh, "Haha, you look so funny when you're mad. That's why I like messing with you." "Stop messing with me. Tell me, who are you?" Han Tae-sung said seriously, turning to John Ujin. At this, he stopped joking around and got down to business. "All right, I should apologize. For crashing your date last time, I'll tell you a few things. Do you remember who I was disguised as?" "The truth is, that guy was a member who escaped from the Audric lab and died. I'm a member of the same guard unit as he was." "You mean you disguised yourself as a comrade?" "Who died, just to fool me," Han Tae-sung said, intrigued. Hearing this, John Ujin took a sip of his drink and said, "I won't deny that using a fallen comrade is a betrayal of the guard unit. But for you, it was worth it. I feel bad about it, but I don't regret it. It was worth it because I'm a disciple. No, the one and only disciple of Deus, right? That's right. But mainly it's because I wanted to test the strength of someone with a hidden class just like me." "I see." Han Tae-sung remained calm, but just a moment later, his brain caught up and he spat out all the liquor he was drinking. "What did you just say?" Han Tae-sung screamed. And to confirm it one more time, John Ujin repeated, "That's right. I also have a hidden class just like you. I knew this guy wasn't normal, but this is so unexpected. There's someone else like me." Han Tae-sung thought to himself, then asked worriedly, "So you know about me because you have a hidden class too?" "I found that out like this," John Ujin said, making a hand gesture. "One look, and you can tell this guy used money to buy the information. Is that right? Well, you've successfully pissed me off." Turning back to John Ujin, he decided to give Han Tae-sung a dose of reassurance. "You don't need to worry about your information. Like I said, I'm special in real life too. Besides me, no one else knows. Not even the Genesis Guild you're so cautious about knows you're a disciple of Deus." Hearing that, Han Tae-sung growled, "Damn it! Who said I'm afraid of them? So what's your hidden class? It's not fair that you're the only one who knows everything about me." After hearing this, John Ujin gently refused. "I can't tell you, you're still too green. Are you just going to keep messing with me? Then get stronger, so that I can feel safe telling you everything. You have to live up to the title of Deus's disciple," John Ujin said seriously. Not long after the meeting with John Ujin ended, Han Tae-sung decided to log back into the game. The fat mouse Hamchi also greeted him cheerfully. "Long time no see, my master." Han Tae-sung started asking about how things were. "While I wasn't here?" "You didn't get into any trouble, did you, Hamchi?" "Heh, I'm not a troublemaker like you, master. Did you finish your business in the other world?" "I don't even know anymore," Han Tae-sung said with a sigh. At that moment, countless thoughts were running through his mind. In the end, the conversation with that John Ujin guy concluded without any real discussion. What's up with that mysterious guy? What's his goal anyway? It doesn't seem like he wants to build relationships with other players who have hidden classes. And while lost in his rambling thoughts, Han Tae-sung arrived at a certain place. This prompted the fat mouse Hamchi to ask, "Master, why have you come here? This gloomy, creepy place isn't suitable for someone like you. Are you upset about something?" Hamchi said, giving him a suggestive look. That look gave Han Tae-sung a headache, and he said, "What are you getting at, Hamchi? It's not the kind of place you're thinking of." The place before them was the city of pleasure Donggiji. This place was famous as an adult playground with nightclubs, casinos, and other entertainment venues not meant for children. In the VR world here, players could experience all sorts of real-world pleasures. Of course, Han Tae-sung only came here for the black market. Thinking this, Han Tae-sung stated his plan. "I don't plan on staying here long. After I sell my items at the black market and upgrade my gear, I'm heading to another region." "Oh, how boring," Hamchi complained, and at that very moment, Han Tae-sung suddenly spotted something up ahead and was a bit surprised. That uniform. They're from the Genesis Guild. Following his gaze up ahead of the two were two guys in black with incredibly arrogant looks on their faces. "What are you looking at? Hey, don't you know who we are?" Seeing this from behind, Han Tae-sung wasn't too surprised. That damn guild, daring to cause trouble here again. Still pulling the same trashy stunts as always. I really want to deal with them right now, but I'll let it go. Han Tae-sung muttered and walked away. Seeing this, the fat rat Hamchi took the opportunity to tease his master. "What's wrong? Are you scared?" "Scared? Who's scared? Do you avoid a pile of crap on the road because you're scared of it? You avoid stepping in it because it's filthy. I'll crush them later, but now's not the time. I have to hurry and sell my items." Back to the two members of the Genesis Guild, it seemed they were trying to shake down a man wearing a hat. "Hey you, have you heard the rumors? People say you've got a lot of good stuff. I just want to take a little look. But you're not listening at all. Hey, answer me. Are you deaf?" And while the black-haired guy was busy making threats, the blonde one next to him, who had a bit more sense, tried to stop him. Looking at him, he seems really suspicious. My ancient eye skill doesn't even work on him. Just how strong is he? But unfortunately for this guy, his partner wasn't listening to a word he said. In fact, he was even a bit contemptuous. "You coward! Are you scared this is why Lord Cheonji is always beating you? So what if his level is high? We're members of Genesis. If he dares to touch us, it means he's declaring war on Genesis." As he said this, he turned to look at the other players around them with disdain. "See, no matter what I say, not a single person dares to step in and stop us. Who'd be stupid enough to get in our way?" After lecturing his partner, the black-haired guy pointed at the man in the hat again and said, "Hey, old man, are you so scared you've gone mute, huh?" But just as he said that, a fist suddenly smashed right into his face, sending his entire body flying into a pile of crates behind him, which exploded on impact. And the one who threw the punch was none other than Han Tae-sung. "I'm so sick of that speech of yours. You said you weren't scared, right?" Han Tae-sung roared furiously. Seeing his partner get hit, the blonde guy hastily pulled a sword from his inventory. He then yelled, "You, do you see the uniforms we're wearing? We're from the Genesis Guild, you bastard. That's exactly why you're such an eyesore," Han Tae-sung said as he gave the guy a jaw-breaking punch. The end result was that these two pampered punks were each knocked out cold by a single punch from Han Tae-sung. He also conveniently tossed both of them into a corner to keep them from blocking the path. Without their guild's reputation, those guys are nothing at all, and yet they still dare to cause trouble. Hearing this, the fat rat laughed. "Hey, you couldn't hold back in the end, could you? If someone wasn't whispering in my ear, I might have been able to ignore them. Your ear was itching, so I just scratched it for you," Hamchi said awkwardly. Turning back, Han Tae-sung looked at the man in the hat and said, "Don't worry, sir. They're always like that." But the man showed no reaction to his words. This made him wonder a little. Is he really unable to speak? With that thought, Han Tae-sung started heading toward the black market. Just then, the fat rat asked worriedly, "Hey, master, their guild is huge, you know. How are you going to deal with the consequences?" "About that. It's not a big deal. After that beating, I doubt they'll dare to open their mouths. Let's go sell our items and get some maintenance done," Han Tae-sung said with a carefree smile. The man in the hat also watched them with a thoughtful gaze. The scene changes to the Intervention Hotel, East Gogi Branch. At this time, Han Tae-sung was also at the hotel's training area. Notification: you have entered the exclusive training area of the Intervention Hotel. And upon entering, Han Tae-sung was overwhelmed by the vastness of the place. Whoa, it's huge. From the outside, it looked so tiny, didn't it? Hamchi exclaimed. Han Tae-sung smiled and said, "This is the maintenance and training service exclusively for adventurers. The fee might be a bit steep, but you really get what you pay for. Hearing this, Hamchi the fat rat understood and immediately jumped down. You don't have to tell me, I know what to do, watch this. As Han Tai-sung spoke, he began to open his bottomless bag and pull out a huge pile of equipment. Do you have to be so noisy just taking things out? Good grief. Don't underestimate this body's moment to shine, Hamchi said, but then grew a little curious and asked, Hey, I thought your main weapon was a one-handed mace, right? Did you buy other weapons too? Hearing this, Han Tai-sung picked up his one-handed mace and explained, That's because this was the cheapest and easiest to use, but it's not my main weapon. Now, though, it's time to choose my main weapon. As he spoke, Han Tai-sung looked at the system notification. Notification. You are approaching level 50. Please select your main weapon. There are 5 weapon types for a debuff master. Mace Mastery, Heavy Armor, Mastery, Greatsword, Mastery, Gauntlet, Mastery, Spear Mastery. I'd rather use a mace like before, but I should probably try out other weapons just to see. With that in mind, Han Tai-sung muttered, Summon Sandbag. And right after he spoke, a sandbag appeared in front of him. Sandbag, a special type of sandbag with fixed defense and infinite health. Turning back to Han Tai-sung after the training target appeared, he picked up a shield and said, Should I start by trying the shield first? After saying that, he raised the shield and charged straight ahead, slamming right into the sandbag. Next, he treated the shield as a weapon, continuously thrusting it at the sandbag. Its power seemed to be quite impressive, as each of Han Tai-sung's blows created incredibly loud booms. The destructive power isn't bad, but the DPS is too low, Han Tai-sung muttered. Just then, the system also provided an evaluation. Combat time 5 seconds. Damage 5,400. Well then, let's try this greatsword, Han Tai-sung said casually, picking up a sword that was lying on the ground, and then he began to test out this weapon. And after a long while, it seemed Han Tai-sung had tested countless weapons to the point where the fat rat had gotten completely bored. Hey, how much longer are you going to keep testing? It's been 2 hours already, you idiot! Turning back to Han Tai-sung, he was now exhausted and out of breath. But even so, our protagonist still wasn't satisfied. This is driving me crazy. Nothing is clear. Every weapon has its pros and cons, but I don't see any that are clearly superior. I guess I'll just have to stick with that one-handed mace after all, Han Tai-sung thought to himself, but just then, a voice rang out from behind him. How futile! Hearing this, Han Tai-sung turned around and said in surprise, You're that old man from before. As he said this, Han Tai-sung was a bit stunned. More importantly, how did he get into this private training area? Could it be that John Yuzen guy is at him again? With this in mind, Han Tai-sung spoke up and asked, Who are you? Are you on the guard team, or did that annoying guy send you? But to his question, the man in the hat didn't answer. Instead, he asked a question of his own. Why did you help me? You didn't even ask for anything in return. If you need something, just say it, he shouted. Turning back to Han Tai-sung upon hearing the old man's words, he fell silent for a moment, then said, It's not because I thought you were pitiful, but seeing an old man being oppressed by those stronger than him, it reminded me of my old self. I just don't want to run away from my past anymore, Han Tai-sung said calmly, and his words made the man in the hat smile. Ha ha, well said. My name is Sakiro. From now on, I will make you stronger. As he spoke, the man took off his hat, revealing the face of a Ronin. Sakiro. Identity NPC. Race human. Level 354. Title Weapon Master of the 5 Heavenly Stars. Sakiro is a member of the 5 Heavenly Stars, just like Betelgeuse, a martial arts master, who has reached an expert level with the ability to freely use 18 types of weapons. That's why he's known as the Weapon Master. So that old man was Sakiro all along. That hat of his must have had an ability to nullify appraisal magic, but I never expected that. Both Betelgeuse and Sakiro would be interested in me. Do I have some kind of rare talent? But I have to refuse. With that thought, Tai-sung scratched his head and thanked him for the offer. But before Tai-sung could finish, Sakiro stopped him. I'm sure you already have a master. It would be strange if someone as talented as you didn't. But your learning can't be limited just by a master-disciple relationship, right? It seems you're having trouble using weapons. I can help you with that. I'm not asking you to become my disciple, I just want to help out a junior, he said with a smile, making Tai-sung think to himself, good thing this guy isn't a pyramid scheme salesman. His persuasion skills are top-notch. But he's right. If I asked Master Diot's opinion on weapons, he would definitely say something like this. Weapons. This body itself is the ultimate weapon. Why use other things? That stuff is only for the weak. What do you think? Taesung tried to push the image of his master out of his head and stated his problem. So to solve the issue with my main weapon, you're going to recommend a weapon that's most suitable for me. In response to this question, Sekiro slowly reached into his pocket and pulled out an item, a single weapon that suits you. Do you think someone like me would be satisfied with just one weapon? From now on, you'll be able to upgrade all the weapons you can use to a higher grade. After saying that, he let Taesung's puppy dog eyes get a look at his incredibly rare item. This belt is called Megingjord. It's an item crafted based on the belt of Thor, the god of thunder from Norse mythology. Type belt. Rank mythic. Special skills quick draw, permanent binding, skill sharing. Speaking of ranks, there are a total of 8 item ranks in BNW. The lowest is common, then magic. Rare, unique legendary, epic mythic, and finally world. However, the existence of the highest rank world has not yet been confirmed. Perhaps it's because no big shot has managed to obtain an item of that level yet. So, among the highest ranking items that can actually be obtained, mythic is the top. Thinking this, Taesung's eyes started shining like car headlights. You're giving me a mythic grade item. Not lending it, but giving it to me. Seeing him start to drool, Sekiro smiled and confirmed, "Ha ha, no need to worry. Once equipped, it becomes a permanently bound item." In response to his generosity, Taesung calmly said, "As I said earlier, I already have a master. So I can't have another teacher. I bow to you, respected senior." As he spoke, Taesung began to use his groveling skill as if he'd been practicing for who knows how many years, to the point that even Sekiro was a bit surprised. "Although I've had many disciples kneel before me, this is the first time a junior has done so." "Well then, thank you," Taesung said as he hurriedly reached for the belt. However, before his hand could snatch it, old Sekiro started moving it away, making Taesung look like a chicken chasing after feed. "Ha ha ha, this suddenly reminds me of when I used to raise a puppy," he said with a grin, making Taesung so angry he started trembling all over. "Are you messing with me?" he said, turning to look the old man in the eye. And at this point, he finally dropped his teasing act and revealed his true purpose. "You want to get sweet loot without putting in any effort. There's a big difference between using an item and depending on it, so you're not giving it to me for free." "What do you want me to do?" Taesung said, as if on his last breath. The old man just quietly told him to follow. The scene then changes to some kind of arena. Amidst the cheers of the crowd, a bald guy used his spiked mace to break his opponent's sword. At the same time, under the force of the mace, the swordsman fell to the ground. Seeing this, the young referee opened his mouth and yelled, "The winner has been decided. The winner is Miles, the god of death." Hearing this, the crowd roared even louder as if they'd gone mad. Miles also waved his mace around to celebrate his victory. This was the Dongiri arena. Old man Sekiro had brought Taesung to this insane place. This made him guess the old man's intention. "You're telling me I have to participate in this?" Hearing the question, he nodded in confirmation and explained, "Although the Dongiri arena has a level limit for participants, there are many kinds of challenges here. Therefore, this is a very good environment for experienced warriors." "I have to fight against warriors." Taesung let out a long sigh, but for the sake of that mythic item. So he had to grit his teeth and follow the old man. "Isn't it more effective to train with other people rather than monsters to broaden your knowledge of weapons?" Sekiro said calmly, handing a piece of paper to the gatekeeper. He added that Taesung would be participating. Inside, a large TV screen was displaying the champion's portrait, while Taesung himself was pondering what Sekiro had just said. Effective, huh? It's true that real combat experience will make me sharper, but does this really have any meaning? Even if the strongest person in this arena is stronger than me, they're all just high-level NPCs. Beating them would take 5 minutes at most. Taesung thought his mindset clearly a bit contemptuous of the NPCs here. Beside him, Sekiro also rummaged through his item bag for a moment and threw something to Taesung. It looked like a rice pestle, which made him a little curious. "It's not the Megingjord. What is this?" Taesung wondered, but before Sekiro could answer, the pestle in his hand suddenly popped open like an umbrella. Then the sharp spikes on this strange thing immediately latched onto Taesung. It felt as if he was about to be devoured by a space monster, but that was all. After latching onto him, the thing didn't make any other moves. Yes. Next, Taesung tapped the piece of equipment lightly and said in surprise, "Oh, is this armor? But it's a bit flimsy," he said with a concerned look. "Haha, they always say the more revealing the armor, the better," the old man said with a laugh, leaving Taesung wondering where on earth he'd heard that. Setting that aside, Sekiro's expression turned serious as he said, "It's almost your turn." Hurry up and go, and don't use any skills. You have to fight using only basic skills. Across from him, hearing this, Tae-sung's eyes lit up with excitement. Got it. In return, if I defeat the champion, I'll take... The Meganjord as promised, Tae-sung said confidently, making the old man burst out laughing. Ha ha ha! We'll see if you can even do it. After that, he took the fat mouse Hamchi and went to the audience seats. Tae-sung, meanwhile, was still smiling smugly, thinking he was about to get a legendary item. Sekiro, you underestimate me. You probably think I'm going to struggle in this arena by telling me not to use my skills and giving me weapons I'm not used to. But with my experience using countless weapons in the battle against Genesis, and the training sessions with my master that made my stats skyrocket, this place is nothing more than my playground. I'll finish this challenge quickly and take the Meganjord. Tae-sung chuckled to himself and strode confidently out into the arena. Above the octagon, the familiar referee shouted, stirring up the crowd's passion. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you've all been waiting for has arrived. A new warrior has appeared to write a new page of history in this holy arena. He is the warrior Scotland, the weak man. As he spoke, he pointed towards Tae-sung, and the spotlight hit him at the same time, causing our hero's face to go completely blank. What the hell? This is so embarrassing. A name that's both outdated and lame. This is definitely that old man Sekiro's doing. And just as Tae-sung thought upon hearing his competition name, the faces of the audience members showed visible disappointment. Only Sekiro seemed to think the name was good. Back in the fight, Tae-sung's opponent now spoke up. Haha, that name suits you. Hey newbie, I'll finish you off quick and clean. Or would you prefer I torture you slowly? The owner of the voice was a praying mantis man. NPC classification, mimic species, level 37, title, The Grim Reaper's Scythe. Meanwhile, Tae-sung's information was secret. Classification, adventurer. Class master debuffer. Species human. Level 46. Title, Goblin Slayer. Protector of the Burman territory. Back to Tae-sung, seeing that the praying mantis's level was lower than his, he let out a contemptuous sigh. Who do you think you're talking to? You praying mantis, seeing Tae-sung's attitude. The mantis man flew into a rage. I'll make you regret coming here. With that, it lunged forward fast as the wind slashing at Tae-sung with its two blades. However, he easily parried the attack with his own sword. Hey, you bughead, I've been wondering. When I crush that insect head of yours, will your blood be red or some other color? Tae-sung said as he began to swing his holy greatsword, a horrifying grin spreading across his face. However, just at that moment, when the praying mantis thought it was done for, the situation suddenly changed as the armor on his body began to activate its treacherous effect. Notification search skill from the armor is now scanning the opponent's abilities. Scan of Maki complete. Initiating power reduction of the wearer. The moment the voice finished, Tae-sung's whole body was hit with intense pain, causing his eyes to roll back into his head. And just like that, before the mantis Maki could even understand what was happening, he saw his opponent rolling on the ground. The weak man, groaning in the opening match, had collapsed from Maki's attack. The referee's bored voice rang out while the one taking the hit, Tae-sung, still had no idea what was going on. This feeling of my whole body writhing in agony couldn't possibly be from taking that praying mantis's attack. Could it? As he thought this, he looked down at the suspicious armor on his body and used a skill to inspect it. Just as he suspected, this was completely a treacherous piece of armor. 1 debuff armor. A magical armor that controls the wearer. Classification, full body armor. Grade legendary. Special ability reduces power after scanning the wearer and the opponent's stats. The armor will reduce the wearer's power by 20%, and the wearer will become weaker than their opponent. Speaking of the mantis Maki seeing Tae-sung sprawled on the ground like a corpse, it regained its confidence. Ha, I don't know what happened, but look how pathetic you are. Now it's my turn to ask a question. If I slice that head off, what color do you think the blood will be? Of course, I already know the answer. As it spoke, it began to swing its blade. Over here, Tae-sung saw this, panicked and hastily jumped to the side to dodge the blow before this Maki guy could take his head off. Seeing this, the mantis man didn't get angry, but instead turned to taunt him. You're quite lucky. But can you dodge it again? In response to the question, Tae-sung began to yell, Everything's already a mess, so just shut your mouth. After speaking, a furious Tae-sung charged forward to attack, swinging his greatsword straight at Maki, but his opponent easily blocked it with his arm. In the end, it was because Tae-sung's strength had been greatly reduced, so this attack was nothing to the mantis man. What do you expect from such a flimsy attack? After saying that it swung its arm powerfully, directly flinging Tae-sung backward, while the stupid system's warning rang out. Warning! Be careful! Your current power is 20% lower than the enemy's. Tae-sung didn't need it to tell him. He already knew how difficult of a situation he was in. It was all thanks to that stupid armor. That's why Tae-sung was in this state. My whole body is aching and slow. Normally I would have been able to dodge that attack. Shakiro must have had a reason to put me in the ring. It can't be as simple as just being countered. If that's the case, I'll stick to basic attacks for now. And so, the two began to clash again. And of course, because his power had been reduced, Tae-sung was getting completely pummeled by this mantis. Up in the stands, Shakiro and Hamchi were sharing some popcorn. The master's condition isn't too good today. Usually he can dodge with his eyes closed, Hamchi said curiously. Are you worried about him? Shakiro asked. Different from what he had expected, the fat mouse's face lit up with joy. Not at all, quite the opposite, in fact. I'm very excited to see the master get taught a lesson. Haha, it seems you've been holding a lot in, huh? Old man number 3 gave a forced laugh and then thought to himself, he might be angry right now, but this is the best way to understand how to use a weapon. In a situation where his superior physique and skills are both sealed, he will realize the essence of the weapon. Let's see how you overcome this difficulty. When you're normally always the stronger one. After that thought, he watched the battle with interest, and by some miracle, Tae-sung managed to chop off one of the mantis man's arms, causing him to scream like a stuck pig while trying to use his remaining arm to stop the blood. It was just a shame that its arm was a blade, so it was almost completely useless. My arm, back to Tae-sung. He let out a heavy breath and said, harder than I imagined. Is it because I'm not used to the movements? After saying that, Tae-sung put on a pained face and declared to Maki, hey, you grasshopper. Your right arm is next. His arrogant voice rang out, making Maki forget all about the pain. You arrogant bastard, I'll take you down with me. The moment the words left his mouth, Maki used his remaining arm to attack crazily. It was as if Tae-sung didn't want to live constantly being pushed back. This exchange between them made the atmosphere in the arena hotter than ever. Whoa, this is unexpected. The weakling who was just getting his face smashed in has swiftly delivered a slash that severed Maki's arm. Maki is now attacking furiously. Back to Shakiro. The sudden turn of the battle also made him sit up straight with a look of disbelief. Amazing. Did he grasp the essence of the greatsword in such a short time? Normally, a greatsword enhances the user's destructive power, but the risk of a failed attack is also very high. Furthermore, because of the debuff armor, it's difficult for him to counter the mantis's combo attacks with a weakened body. However, Six-Freeze utilized the greatsword as a shield to neutralize the attack while simultaneously exploiting his opponent's weakness, all wrapped up in just a few movements. That's not something just anyone can do. A deadly tactic born from instinct and a thirst for victory. Just as I thought, I've found a true talent. Perhaps a monster even stronger than myself is about to emerge. As Sekiro thought this, a chill ran down his spine. Meanwhile, the more Maki fought, the more enraged he became. Stop hiding behind your weapon and come out here, you bastard! He roared furiously at Tae-sung, hiding behind his weapon like that. But on the other side, our hero had finally understood the true purpose. Why Sekiro had made him train using this method. Now I get it. Sekiro must want me to handle situations with my own weapon. That's why he suppressed my power to make me panic. But Sekiro forgot one thing. For someone like me who has always fought as the underdog, using everything in your surroundings is the most basic rule. At that same moment, Maki the Mantis had backed Tae-sung right up against the mesh wall, leaving him no room to retreat. Seizing this chance, he leaped straight at him and swung his blade for the finishing blow. The powerful slash cut deep into the mesh wall. But his arm also got tangled in the mesh and he couldn't pull it out, and this was exactly what Tae-sung wanted. While the Mantis's arm was stuck, Tae-sung circled around behind him. I told you, your right arm is next. After saying that, Tae-sung swung his sword and cleanly severed the creature's remaining arm. It let out a second horrifying scream and collapsed onto the arena floor. And just like that, the match was over. Well, how surprising. The weakling has won, the referee said calmly, which just made Tae-sung wish he would hurry up and end it so he could take this armor off. At that same moment, in a VIP room somewhere inside the arena, a figure looked out and asked, So that's the guy who did this to you, huh? Yes, that's his face, that's him. The two lackeys kneeling behind him spoke hastily. They were the same two who got their asses handed to them by Tae-sung when they tried to bully Sekiro. Back to the boss. Seeing that Taesung had struggled to defeat the Mantis Man, he just sighed in disappointment. You couldn't even handle him. It's because he sneak attacked us. The long-haired guy hurriedly tried to explain, but before he could say another word, the boss started kicking him repeatedly. He yelled, "Stop making excuses, you scum, because of you my reputation is ruined."
I'm sorry, Chelsea,
he cried, covering his head. Turning back to Chelsea, who was mid-kick, he suddenly seemed to remember something, and stopped. Wait a minute. Why does he look so familiar? This man is Choi Chelsea, a member of the Genesis Guild and also a VIP member at Dongiri. Tell me his name again.
He can't possibly be weak. His name is Siegfried, sir.
The long-haired guy quickly replied, causing Chelsea to stroke his chin in thought. Siegfried. He looks a lot like someone I know. Beside him, the blonde-haired young man added, Rumor has it he's traveling with an old man. We couldn't figure out the old man's identity even using ancient clairvoyance. What should we do now? What else? We take them both down, obviously, Chelsea replied. But just then, the other person in the room spoke up. It won't be that easy. That old man is Sakiro of the 5 Heavenly Stars. What's Sakiro, the legendary weapon master? Chelsea exclaimed in shock, and the person in red and white nodded in confirmation. He was watching the match from the stands just now. He even threw his hat. He normally wears a hat to hide his identity. Across from him, Chelsea listened with skepticism. Are you sure you didn't see wrong? Someone as famous as Sakiro wouldn't show up in a place like this. I heard he's traveling the continent searching for rare talent. They say wherever Sakiro goes, a precious gem can be found. For him to appear at the Dongiri Arena. Does that mean there's a real talent here? I just said that dealing with Sakiro won't be easy, right? But not impossible. Chelsea spoke up. Normally Sakiro is unbeatable, but things are different now, the cloaked figure said with a cold smile. Time passed quickly. Now Taesung was in a match with some big boxer-type guy. Haha, what kind of lucky break did you get? It's only been a week and you already get to challenge me. He laughed loudly without a hint of worry. This man was the champion of the Dongiri Arena's fighter class. But you'll soon realize this is your grave. Stop dodging is running away all you know how to do, the angry champion said as his fists couldn't reach Taesung, who kept dodging like a mouse. When I was young, I also learned a bit of boxing. I wasn't great at it, but I'm sure I can punch you to death. After saying that, Taesung landed a punch right on his chin, sending a shockwave through his brain and leaving him dazed. Finally, he couldn't stay conscious any longer and collapsed to the ground. No wonder the author never introduced his name. Not far away after seeing the champion fall, the referee declared Taesung's victory. Our undefeated champion has fallen. A new legend has appeared in Dongiri, the winner. Oshi is the new legend of this place, Mr. Ichin. Up in the stands, people were starting to accept Taesung. Watching Ichin fight is getting more and more interesting, isn't it? He always gets pushed around at the beginning, and then he turns the tables and wins. That's right, and he even uses a different weapon for every match. Back in the octagon, the referee approached him and asked, You became the champion after just 1 week in this arena. That's unprecedented, Mr. Ichin. Do you have any thoughts on becoming the champion? The referee asked, holding the mic out for him to answer. I thought it was a bit easy, Taesung answered nonchalantly. The scene changes to a hotel, a branch of Dongiri. For becoming the arena's champion, as promised, Sakiro gave him the legendary item. Megan Josh, player's secret, has acquired Megan Josh. Megan Josh automatically transforms to suit its owner. The notification sound chimed after Taesung put it on, and with a legendary item on him, his confidence soared. Wearing a mythic-grade item? I feel so classy. So this is why people like designer brands. Nearby, Sakiro saw Taesung grinning from ear to ear and spoke up. Judging by your expression, you seem to like it a lot, huh? Sorry about that. I was busy, so I couldn't come see your match. Anyway, congratulations. Champion. No, I should say reigning champion. Oh, come on. Compared to someone like you, Sakiro, this little achievement is nothing, Taesung said, waving his hand dismissively. Ha ha! Even my past self couldn't have become champion in such a short time. As you did, he explained with a smile which surprised Taesung a little. Huh, is that so? In response to his question, the old man began to tell a story. It must have been about 100 years ago. It was the first time I'd ever wielded a sword in battle, so I didn't have much experience. Hearing Sakiro say that, Taesung was even more surprised. And you still achieved a very high rank. The situation was very different back then. Back then I wielded a sword to make a living. Now it's just a pastime for kids. the old man said smugly, making Taesung's eyes widen. Putting that aside, Taesung remembered something and asked curiously, "But, did you come to Dondagiri just for the arena?" "No, I have something else to do. Can you help me with something?" the old man asked. Time passes quickly. The scene changes to the forgotten mine in the City of Pleasure. For some reason, Sakiro had brought Taesung to this place. Oh, I never expected to find a mine like this on the outskirts of such a glamorous city. What are we doing here? Back to Sakiro. As they entered the mine, he began to explain, "You've probably heard of the three great families, right? Yes, on this continent. Who doesn't know about the three great merchant guilds Bimarian Autonica and Mercedes?" Taesung replied. "Well then, you must also know about the Bimarian Workshops division." "You mean the House of Death?" Taesung muttered. The House of Death is a special division of the Bimarian Workshop, which always creates items of extremely high quality. Rumor has it that most of the continent's strongest weapons were forged here. Among them was a craftsman considered the best in the world named Herbert. He was more fanatical and wild than anyone in the history of crafting. To be more specific, he learned to draw just so he could sketch scenes of his weapons killing people. "That's seriously insane." Taesung nodded in agreement. Sakiro continued, "In his lifetime, he created over 100 extremely powerful weapons. In his final years, he poured his heart and soul into creating weapons of mass destruction. Masterpieces of this world." Hearing this, Taesung was starting to guess Sakiro's purpose for bringing him here. So he immediately asked, "So this mine contains his relics?" In response, Sakiro shook his head slightly and explained, "No. To be precise, this mine is part of a map that leads to his treasure according to the information I have. The map was torn in two and split up for safekeeping. No one has ever found the other half, but the remaining piece is definitely in here. So that's the reason you stayed in Dondagiri, isn't it? Because of this?" Taesung asked. "I went to the black market to find more information about this mine, but I ran into trouble there and you stepped in to help me. I saw you were a pretty good kid, so I brought you along. I never expected I'd end up helping a master like you." Taesung marveled at the coincidence. Back to Sakiro. "While you were fighting in the arena, I went inside to survey the terrain of this mine. Now we can get started on finding the map." As he spoke, the two arrived in an area filled with ancient-looking architecture. Meanwhile, Taesung grew curious as to why it was getting brighter the deeper they went, especially in a vast place like this. However, before Taesung could think any further, a hand suddenly burst out from the ground, followed by swarms of monsters crawling out from every nook and cranny. "You have entered a dungeon!" A notification sound rang out, alerting Taesung. As for old Sakiro, he just grinned at the sight of all the different monsters appearing. He laughed as if nothing was wrong. "Haha, it seems we're a little outnumbered." "It's not just a little. We're seriously outnumbered." "Hey, you never mentioned this was a dungeon!" Taesung cried out, his eyes drawn to a cobra with a cannon in its mouth. "That monster is level 150. Even if I sacrificed my life, I'm not sure I could take it on. This is a chimera, a monster created by crossbreeding various other monsters. Using advanced equipment, it's a creature made for the sole purpose of attacking, which makes its danger level extremely high. Level 150, hybrid race chimera. Just a common rank monster around here." In response to Taesung's worry, old man Sakiro reassured him, "Don't worry. Even if you're a genius, I wouldn't make you do something so difficult." "So you're planning to take care of it yourself?" Taesung asked again. "Because of me, you've spent the whole past week in the arena and haven't been able to grind for levels right. Looks like I'll have to take responsibility for these things."